The George Michael Sports Machine, Sundays at midnight.
Today on Sports World, with the skyline of New York as a backdrop, the Indy Cars return to the New York area for the U.S. Grand Prix at the Meadowlands. Mario Andretti returns to the Meadowlands to defend his championship of last year and continue his pursuit of his second national driving championship. But the thorn in his side here is the man that has challenged him this entire season, the new kid on the block, Danny Sullivan. Sullivan has been a powerful force in Indy Car racing with his new ride for the Penske Racing Team. The battle between the two started at Long Beach, California. There, it was Mario Andretti coming home the winner. But at the Indianapolis 500, Andretti was outdriven by Danny Sullivan, and Sullivan was the winner. So today, at the Meadowlands, it's Andretti and Sullivan and 26 other fine racing drivers to accept the challenge.
This is NBC's Sports World, and today it's brought to you by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. By Armor All. It's science, but it works like magic. By Prudential. For life, health, auto, home. Get a piece of the rock. Prudential Insurance. And by Brabham's gas filters, transmission filters, and PCV valves.
It's a hot, muggy afternoon in the New York area. Thick white clouds, some patches of blue sky over the Meadowlands Sports Complex. Hello, I'm Paul Page with three-time Indianapolis champion Bobby Unser. And of course, we are concerned with the plight of our hostages, and NBC News will keep track of those events in the Middle East throughout the afternoon. But for the moment, at least, it's race day at the Meadowlands. And once again, Bobby, it's the challenge of Andretti and Danny Sullivan.
Yes, it is, but interesting. Danny Sullivan, 2 years only of Indianapolis car experience. Mario Andretti, 22 years of Indianapolis experience.
And two entirely different driving styles between these two men.
Well, they do. Look at this. Mario Andretti, Long Beach, California, won the race by being smarter. One pit stop. Danny Sullivan ran him down, ran right out of fuel, turned right around, did that same hard charging, and won Indianapolis. It's going to be interesting.
So Danny Sullivan, Mario Andretti, the front row. But with any IndyCar race, there are 26 other drivers, 26 of the finest, fastest drivers in the world, ready to take the challenge of the green flag and 168 miles here at the Meadowlands. And of those 28 drivers, they are driving an assortment of cars. 1 Eagle, 8 Lolas, 19 Marches. There are 12 rookies in this field ready to take the green flag here. 2 world driving champions representing 3 world driving titles. 13 Indianapolis 500 titles are represented here today, as well as 5 national driving titles. So an exciting race stands in store for us at the Meadowlands. We'll be back with the start of the engines right after this.
I'm here.
We are back live at the Meadowlands Sports Complex in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The IndyCar drivers strapped in their machines. They're prepared to go as we look at this sweeping main straightaway here, the Brendan Byrne Arena just behind there. There's a shot from high above this complex, built for a race course on a combination of city streets, a combination of part of the parking lot, and it is a magnificent facility. Fans have been pouring in here all day. They've already been entertained with a great deal of racing. Now, as we are prepared on the starting grid, here is John Hansen, the chairman of the New Jersey Sport and Expo Authority. begins to build now as each of these Indianapolis cars roars out their challenge to one another. There's Danny Sullivan a moment ago. You saw Mario Andretti. They are the front row, and they are continuing to renew that challenge, that fight that has gone on throughout this IndyCar season, starting, as we mentioned, well back at the Long Beach race in California. Danny Sullivan set and ready to go. The field ready. All cars now started. The crews indicating that they're ready to go, beginning now to move some of the equipment back away from the starting field so that they can be prepared for any eventuality in the pits. The rest of the field is sitting back and ready. We have one row of complete rookies. That is the fourth row. We'll give you the entire starting grid in just a moment. And we should say there is Bobby Rahal as he just starts to inch forward from his position in the second row and then lags back as we wait just a minute longer. We should mention that as the news events continue throughout the afternoon, we will, of course, be going to them anytime there is a new development. We will keep track of that most important news story with NBC News throughout this afternoon. Now, Bobby Rahal begins to roll away. Jeff Brabham alongside. The entire field now rolling away and ready to go on this circuit at the Meadowlands. 28 Indianapolis cars. A look over Jeff Brabham's shoulder in our live CART cam. We hope to have good pictures from this continued experiment that we have this afternoon here. Jeff Brabham is the driver of our camera car today. Hi, Jeff, as he gives us a wave, heading off of the second turn and on to the sweeper, following that second turn here on the circuit. Well, it is a warm day at the Meadowlands. There's your front row. Mario Andretti on the left, Danny Sullivan on the right. The second row is Rahal, and of course Jeff Brabham with the camera on his car. Now the conditions here today, it's a warm afternoon. It is very, very muggy here. 76 degrees now. It seems a great deal hotter than that. The track surface condition, the temperature is just a little bit higher, probably approaching 100 degrees. Now the circuit here at the Meadowlands, 1.68 miles around, 11 turns. Here is Bobby Unser.
Most of the Meadowlands course is actually a mixture of city streets and parking lots, quite different than other courses. We have the start and finish line into turn 1, which is very fast, into turn 2 and 3, which is very slow. That's a first gear turn, leading on to a fairly short straightaway into a very much of an off-camber first gear turn. Out of this one, we go into a short straightaway into a second gear turn. Very important because it goes on to a relatively fast back straightaway of S's, 140 miles an hour into a second gear chicane right there. That's to slow them down. Then uphill, third gear into a very blind turn, and then down into the straightaway, 175 miles an hour.
There is the circuit at the Meadowlands. Tom Sneva had just a little bit of a problem getting his engine started, and then finally it fired, and it was Tom Sneva pulling away in his regular starting position. So all of them are ready to go and moving out on this 11-turn circuit at the Meadowlands. Now, gold medalist turned skillful racing driver, and is using that skill as a driver and knowledge to be one of the best pit coverage experts in the business. Here's Bruce Jenner.
Thank you very much, Paul Page. Down here in the Danny Sullivan pit, and yes, he is in the front row, but it certainly has not been easy for him. In the first qualifying session, he went out, lost the motor in his #1 car, went to the backup car, and qualified it on the front row. A great performance. Now the decision, do they nullify that performance, rebuild the #1 car, and then go out there and try to re-qualify? Well, that's exactly what they did. With just 3 minutes to go in the final qualifying session, Roger Penske made the decision, let's go with the #1 car. Danny Sullivan out there in just 3 laps, put that car on the front row. A great performance by the Penske team and Danny Sullivan. Now let's move down the pits to Gary Gerald, and he's in the Mario Andretti pit.
Well, Bruce, there hasn't been that kind of drama here with Mario Andretti this weekend. It's been a picture-perfect weekend. He's been consistently fast. He has a new course record. He's on the pole. He's the defending champion, defending national champion. He's won 3 of 4 already this year. Mario Andretti, however, will be the very first man to tell you that the credit is not his. It belongs to the people in this pit area. Daryl Soppy right here, the crew chief, Tony Cicali, Carl Haas, Paul Newman. They put together a team that has compiled an amazing record of success. And we're going to be watching that team in action very closely this afternoon as Mario tries to make it 2 in a row at the Meadowlands. Let's check the rest of the starting grid as we go back to Paul Page.
Here's the lineup. for the U.S. Grand Prix at the Meadowlands. 28 Indy cars ready to go. The front row on the inside. Once again, the defending champion is Mario Andretti. Mario blistered the pace here with a new track record in qualifications. Outside, the man with a challenge, Danny Sullivan. 3 wins in CART, looking for another.
And on the inside of the second row, we have Jeff at Brabham. Jeff has 3 second-place finishes, but still never won a race. He's the son of the former world champion, Jack Brabham. On the outside of the second row, a very fast man, Bobby Rahal. 5 wins in CART, having a terrible season so far.
The third row on the inside, the 40 car of Emerson Fittipaldi, the 2-time world driving champion. His best finish in CART is second place. Alongside Emo, Al Unser Jr. He has 1 win. That on the road course at Portland. He's looking for another.
And on the inside of the fourth row, we have Roberto Moreno. He's from Italy. He's replacing Pancho Carter. He's from Formula 2 and a very quick road race driver. On the outside, we have Bruno Giacomelli, also from Italy, and he comes from Formula 1, replacing the retired Gordon Johncock.
The fifth row on the inside in the number 18 car is Kevin Cogan, back from his injuries at Pocono last year. 2 second-place finishes. He has never won. Alongside, from Scotland, Jim Crawford, an excellent road racing driver, comes from Formula 1 and Formula 2. The field rolling on the pace lap now as we're set to go and look at the rest of this qualifying field. 12 of these 28 drivers are foreign-born. Mario Andretti, of course, the defending champion. All of the qualified cars are in brand new 1985 machines. Bobby Unser, the question last year before the rain, and it rained through most of the race, was could you pass on this circuit? Now we really have to answer that question.
Well, it's a tough place to pass on because it's a very tight racetrack, Paul, but I think you find most of the passing today is going to be going into number 2 turn. Number 2 and 3 are right together, and it's kind of a big hairpin turn, and going into number 4 turn. That's where most of the passing, I think, is going to happen.
One interesting fact you noted earlier, the last row, A.J. Foyt and Dick Simon. A.J. Foyt is 50 years old. Dick Simon is 51.
That totals 101 years of racing in the last row. Can you believe that?
The oldest row ever to start in an Indy car race. Now you and I are both in trouble with A.J. Foyt. We're looking at the front row now. There is Mario Andretti, car number 1, the Beatrice Lola. Alongside is Danny Sullivan, that car number 4. They have battled throughout the season. We have a distinct difference in styles here as they come through what is the final bend. Nick Finoro, the starter, has the green flag. He looks up toward that starting field. Look at the crowd as they cheer as this field now moves up, closes up very quickly. Nice formation. They're ready to start. The starter continuing to watch the pace car off. No start. The yellow flag comes out. We have no start here at the Meadowlands.
The cars were just strung out too far, Paul, and some of that's because they come off of that far turn up there. The guys in the front just accelerated a little bit too soon.
Andretti did move out very quickly. Perhaps now he's telegraphed his move to the rest of the field. The front rows looked like they were in pretty good shape, but the back end was...
Well, they did, and he's teaching Danny Sullivan how to start races. After all, you got to remember that Mario started in the sprint car circus where you really learn how to start races.
You don't keep a good eye on that flag there on the short dirt tracks and the sprint ovals, then you're in big trouble.
You realize he started many, probably hundreds of races with Nick Finoro, the starter, in sprint car, midget, and Indy car races.
All right, let's take a look at this. This is from the second row. Jeff Brabham, you're looking over his shoulder. In front of him is Bobby Rahal, and then he'll slide up right into that slot to the right of Rahal. That's Sullivan on the left, and there is Mario Andretti down on the right. Now, Jeff is weaving back and forth just a little bit as we come through this course. He's trying to bring his tires up to temperature now. Now we're looking at one of the sweepers. This is that long, what we call the backstretch section, and they'll bear back over to the right here. It's pretty quick through here, Bobby.
Well, it is, and really what they're trying right now, Paul, the track is plenty hot. What they're really trying to do right now is to keep the tires clean so they don't pick up the rubber from the Super Vs, because the rubber from the Super V tires has a tendency to stick to these tires, so they got to kind of scrub them to keep them clean so they don't go in the first turn and slide all over.
Super Vs, of course, raced here earlier in the afternoon. Again, we are live. You're looking over Jeff Brabham's right-hand shoulder. I'm sure that his father, multiple-time world driving champion, Sir Jack Brabham, is proud that he can now actually ride with his son in a race car. And I should point out that that first lap will count in the race under the yellow as they begin to align again. We are counting lap number 1. We're actually working that first lap.
They have to do that, Paul, because of the amount of fuel that they allow. They only allow the fuel for the amount of laps of the race.
They put an extra lap in, then somebody could be out in fuel. Could definitely be a factor here today. It is a concern of many of the teams. As we watch again now, they approach the line. Let's see if Sullivan learned. We are green, and Sullivan still drops in behind Mario Andretti. It's Sullivan in second place. Behind him is Jeff Brabham, and Bobby Rahal moves up to challenge on the long side as he really cracks his brakes trying to get around Jeff Brabham. Little Al is in third. Emerson Fittipaldi sits right behind Little Al. The field comes through. Clean start, no contact.
Well, that was really good. I was surprised that Sullivan didn't take a lesson from Mario in that first false start.
Mario Andretti accelerates now, coming up over a bridge over local highway here, down to the bottom of the bridge now. A turn back to the left. Sullivan follows. Brabham third. Rahal, then Al Unser, then Emerson Fittipaldi and Bruno Giacomelli.
One of the big factors today, Paul, I might as well tell the people to start with, is going to be fuel. Most of the cars, I believe, are going to try to make this race a one fuel stop. Now, everybody will be watching Mario Andretti to see what their decisions are, and you can a little bit tell about what they're going to be by how fast he runs, how hard he runs.
Mario Andretti has been the one that has been capable of going the furthest on a tank of fuel, and certainly the man to key off of. I'll be real surprised, Bobby Unser, if indeed they try and go without 2 stops. Here comes Danny Sullivan trying to challenge Andretti. First starts to the inside on the main stretch, now passing through the first turn as a challenge set up. This aggressive style of Danny Sullivan challenging our leader Mario Andretti.
Well, I love it. I love that style of driving. I wish they had a little bit more fuel so they could go at it like this all day long.
Puts us in mind of a younger Bobby Unser in his day, the man who, by the way, has the most wins in Indy Car in the New Jersey area back in your days of racing at Trenton Speedway. All right, it is Mario Andretti. Danny Sullivan's having a problem with his left front wing. Look, he's actually been up close enough to get it bent.
He probably did that touching Mario's tire. It's a little hard for us to tell right now, but he's running awfully close for a while.
All right, a road circuit, a bent wing. What could it mean?
Very bad push, and especially through the S's where they are right now. It means that you just don't get the downforce on the front that you need.
So the left front wing on Danny Sullivan's car, an item to watch already here in the early going. 2 laps complete at the Meadowlands. The first one run under the yellow. Mario Andretti is still our leader. Second place is Danny Sullivan, and he continues to challenge. We'll stay with his fight for the lead.
Well, the wing's been a little bit harder than I thought it was. It's probably rubbing the ground about halfway around the track. So what he'll do is wear the bottom plate off. But it doesn't look like it's really hurt the handling of the car too much.
All right, something like that, Bobby. It's sitting down, cocked just a bit. When a car comes toward the cameras, we can see it. Will it affect the handling drastically? Could it be pulling the car one way or another?
Well, it could be, but you see it's his left front wing, and most of the turns are the left, so that means the wing is on the inside of the racetrack. The important wing right now is the right front. If he'd have bent that one, he would have probably been hurting a little bit worse.
There you get a wonderful view of the nature of this circuit that is part parking lot, part streets, as they come over a bridge over the highway, now coming into the parking lot area. That's Mario Andretti. That bright red car out in front, the red and white machine, is Danny Sullivan.
I notice that Danny's falling back just a little bit now, and it's probably because of the wing, but he may take a second gulp of air and take another swing at Mario in just a little bit. Danny is a very aggressive driver, and if he can find another way to drive around this wing problem, he'll take another swing at him in just a little bit.
The battle continues for the lead. Third place continues to be Jeff Brabham. In fourth place is Bobby Rahal. Al Unser Jr. is in fifth. Emerson Fittipaldi is now running in sixth, and Bruno Giacomelli is in seventh. So nothing has changed there. The fight is here at the front of the field.
A lot of the guys are probably turning their boost back early on, because you see it's the same old deal. Mario runs long.
Let's watch this. The report comes in, Bobby, that Bobby Rahal, that's the red car that we're looking at, the number 3 machine, is bottoming out and throwing sparks.
Well, he'll do that, but they have rub blocks under the front of the car and under the back, and those will wear off. They can wear clear down to about a 1/16 of an inch, and they start out with about probably 3/8 of an inch. So he's got a long way to go for that's a problem.
Bobby Rahal currently running in 5th place, and that is your nephew, Al Unser Jr., right behind him. As he challenges, we look back to the leaders. There is Mario Andretti. And that wing, it seems like it's actually moving down further. Well, Danny Sullivan's car. We get a view from the front.
It's a pipe that got bent. The aluminum, of course, is only superficial on the outside. It's got a pipe that is the structure of it. Once that's bent, it's kind of kinked, and then it no longer has any strength.
All right, right, the question then becomes, when they come in for a pit stop, that's the finest pit crew in the service right there, the Penske team, are they capable of making a sufficient change on that car when they stop? Can they change that wing?
They won't do it unless it's desperate. If Danny complains too much, of course, they'll just put another nose on it. They already know what the settings are in the wings. They just slide a new nose on it. But they will not do that unless it's a long yellow. They may do it under yellow, but probably as long as Danny can stay with it, they'll just leave it alone.
We talked about passing, the ability to pass here, the fact that there are no true long straightaways here. The top 10 in the field have remained in the relative same positions that they started this race in. The battle is still here at the front. Of course, we will continue to try and move back through the field as things occur. But right now, we are looking at Mario Andretti. He is the defending champion. He carries the number 1, indicating that. Danny Sullivan is right behind him. Danny Sullivan does have a problem that occurred on the second lap of this race when he moved up, apparently just tapped the back end of Mario Andretti's car and bent the left front nose wing on the car. So we watch with Andretti leading, Danny Sullivan in the challenging position, just exactly what we expected. We'll be right back. We're back at the U.S. Grand Prix of the Meadowlands. 8 laps complete. Mario Andretti is still the leader, and he has just completed his 6,000th lap as a leader in Indy Car running. That's a magnificent statistics early in the race. He is still the leader, has been from the green flag.
That's a heck of a record to hold, Paul.
And the challenge continues to come from Danny Sullivan, though it is a bit of an abated challenge. Danny Sullivan, there you see it very clearly. That wing is down, dragging on the ground, but still Sullivan's in there trying to fight with Andretti.
It doesn't seem to be hurting anything right now. It doesn't appear, Paul, but I do think that it's going to wear out. It's rubbing on the ground with such a force that I think he's going to wear the outer part of it off, and then he's going to lose a little bit of the ground effects underneath the wing.
All right, but what can the Penske team do about it? At this moment in the Penske pit is Bruce Jenner with this report. Bruce?
Thank you, Paul Page. Down here in the Danny Sullivan pit, I just talked to Chuck Sprague, and in fact, Danny Sullivan didn't even know he had bent the front wing. The crew, through the reports, had found out that it had been bent. They had to tell him that it was bent, so obviously the handling has not been affected that much. Their attitude right now is just a wait-and-see attitude. The handling doesn't seem to be affected. We'll see what happens. Let's go back up to Paul Page.
Thank you, Bruce Jenner. So Danny Sullivan, not even aware, it apparently isn't bothering the handling too much.
No, but it could later on. Remember, that wing is so low, he can't even clear the curbings if he has to run over any of them.
Now, currently running in third place, just a bit back from these cars, is Jeff Brabham. But there is a report from the observers that there might be something wrong in the rear suspension of his car, and they're continuing to observe it. At the moment, they do not intend to bring him in. The fight is still for the lead. The top 10 continues to be static.
Well, that Sullivan is pushing Andretti just by. There's Jeff Brabham right now, and he doesn't appear to have any problems, and I'll bet he doesn't know much about him because he's really going quite fast, doing a good job.
Of course, riding in third place right now, he has a clear circuit just ahead of him, so he can run just as fast as he is capable of running, and he's hoping to see a sign of the fight in front of him, which is first and second. Now, here's a fight just a little further back. It is the fight for third place in the field. The black car is Jeff Brabham. Right behind him is Bobby Rahal, and Rahal, now watch, he's been bottoming on the main straightaway. There's a bump right there. You saw him go over it. When he does, sparks come off the back of the car. Bobby just indicated that it was skid blocks and shouldn't be a problem on the car. Let's go to Bobby Rahal's pit. Here's Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, it's a special type of skid block. The owner, Jim Truman, I understand you have titanium underneath the car.
Right. It's our best effort to run the car as low as possible and prevent the tub from being damaged. Titanium gives us a little better protection, and it seems to give a little brighter spark, too.
Well, you've got a great battle right now with Jeff Brabham for third. We're going back
Gary,
to Paul
I'm going to
Page.
interrupt you because we've just had a change in the leader. Danny Sullivan, with a sudden move, was able to force his way past Andretti, but Andretti's falling back fast.
Well, that was a good pass by Danny, and I think we'd have to assume that wing damage is not really hurting him too bad.
Well, maybe it even helped him. Maybe they've done something that works there because he moved past Andretti, and now Andretti moves back just a little bit.
Marius falling back fast, Paul. I think he must have a problem. You know what could be happening, too, is that fuel thing I was telling you about. He might be dialing his boost back. Let's watch him a little bit.
Exactly my question. You mentioned it at the start of the show. Is this strategy or is this a problem?
Well, we'll watch him just a little bit, and I'll tell you whether it's a strategy or a problem, believe me.
All right, our first change in the lead. Here it was as it happened. Sullivan pulled up, coming across the bridge on onto the inside of Andretti. Andretti pulls high. Sullivan moves past. It almost looked like Andretti allowed it to occur.
No, he didn't give him any place, Paul. He absolutely closed the door on Mario. Mario had no way to cut in because when he got his bite, he did it with all 4 tires and was even with him. That was a good pass, really.
Sullivan got his car in there, and when he did, of course, he owned the turn, moving past Jan Lammers, one of the back cars. Here is Jose Garza. Now, they brought him in under the black flag. They wanted to consult something on the car. Naturally, they will refuel the machine. They've apparently checked it, the CART officials, and sending it back into competition. But in that, the first real stop of the day, Jose is going to lose a lot of time. He was not up in the front of the competition. There's our leader, Danny Sullivan.
Danny is still going good and just pulling away from Mario, but we haven't had enough on Mario really to see whether he has a problem or not.
Mario Andretti currently riding in second place. There he is, and that's indicative of what the interval was. And the leaders, of course, encountering some of the slower cars in the field now. They have already passed Lammers. They have already passed Dick Simon. There is Danny Sullivan coming through. And still, that wing certainly looks like it is down substantially. And here is the fight now for 3rd and 4th place. Currently occupying 3rd place, the number 7 machine, that is Jeff Brabham, and Bobby Rahal is right behind him, and they're weaving their way through those slower cars as well now.
Yeah, it's interesting that the number 7 of Jeff Brabham's is a Coors car owned by the Gallus team, and young Ronnie Dawes has designed a new set of tunnels for that car, a new set of tunnels that caused the downforce, Paul, and it would appear to me that maybe they did them right this time.
Well, something is working for Bobby Rahal as well. He has not had a great season. First race of the season, 2 laps gone. He is out of the race. The battle for 3rd place you saw there. Here is our leader once again. Danny Sullivan leads here at the Meadowlands. Andretti is 2nd. Jeff Brabham currently sits in 3rd. We'll be back at the Meadowlands right after this. The view from high above the Meadowlands in New Jersey. The pictures, of course, from the Goodyear Blimp America from Houston, Texas. At the controls today, the Assistant Chief Pilot, Larry Chambers from Spring, Texas. And at the Meadowlands, it is still Danny Sullivan that leads, but while we were away, this car, the number 6 machine, driven today by Roberto Moreno, who is replacing Pancho Carter for this race, lost it alone, got it against the wall. He immediately hopped out of the car. The contact was heavy to the left side. You can see him standing just to the right of the picture. He is obviously okay, and in his rookie ride in an Indy Car race, he passed his rookie test at Indianapolis Raceway Park last Monday. He's learned his first lesson.
It's kind of sad because it's his first year. I've watched Roberto Moreno run in over by Hong Kong in Macau, and I thought he was impressive, but he's had that luck today.
This is the battle for 4th place. That is Bobby Rahal currently in 4th. That is your nephew, Al Unser Jr., in the hot one, as he is now challenging Rahal. Rahal earlier was up beginning a fight with Jeff Brabham. Now that fight has moved backwards. Jeff Brabham is running alone, and Bobby Rahal is having to hold Little Al off.
Well, he's definitely fighting behind him now, not in front of him, and Little Al's chewing on him, and he's out to get him pretty soon. He's been moving up pretty rapid.
Back to the leaders once again. The number 4 Miller, that is Danny Sullivan. He picked up the lead from Mario Andretti. Mario led from the green flag, and then Danny Sullivan picked up the lead from Mario on a real gutsy move coming through the 6th turn. And Sullivan, despite that bent wing, continues to lead this race.
Well, I'm going to give an opinion, Paul, that, and sometimes I'm wrong on these things, that Mario's turned his boost down. He's 5.5 seconds roughly behind Sullivan, and I think the reason for this is he's going for a guaranteed 1 stop, and I'll bet you see Mario pick it up good after 1 fuel stop today.
Well, let's think back to earlier in the season. The situation was, let's take a look at this. This is now the battle for 3rd as the fight between Bobby Rahal and Little Al has moved up, and they're right on the back wing of Jeff Brabham. So now it is still a battle for 3rd place. Remember, Sullivan is 1st, Andretti is 2nd. This is the battle for 3rd as they come back the accident from Moreno's car. And they were able to move up on Jeff Brabham, and then they had to fall back away as they go through the chicane.
So what happens, they caught a car, they were lapping, and there's Jeff again out in the clean air. And of course, the camera's working fairly good, but flickered a little bit.
You saw Jeff Brabham look over there, check out that right side rearview mirror. He wants to make sure he can keep everybody back as he comes onto the main stretch. Now you'll see him there, the pit boards to the right. He's he's on the main straight. You see it's not truly a straight. It continues to bend and bend and bend, and it tightens down quite quickly.
There is no straightaway here. What we call a straightaway is really just a slow, long turn.
Down, second gear, first turn, second turn, then again a bend back to the left. Now, coming is the most difficult turn on the course. It's a right-hander. It is also off camber. Watch the car kind of cock over to the left. Very difficult because it's tough to judge, and it also gets slick.
Very slow, and that's a first gear corner. And incidentally, this track is probably one of the most tiring tracks on the entire Indy Car circuit.
Extra tiring today because it is so humid. Jeff Brabham, that's a wave. He's thanking the car that he moved past. Now, about 145 miles an hour. He's past the accident. This is live as you watch it. And we come back to the leader, Danny Sullivan, still with the bent front wing. He'll keep it that way throughout this race.
Well, they're not going to change that wing as long as he's running as good as he can, especially if he didn't even know it was bent. They're darn sure not going to change it. You know, he can't see that wing from inside that race car. Not when his shoulder harnesses are pulled down tight on him, Paul.
All right, so Danny Sullivan, now he really comes into traffic. That's Jose Garza just in front of him. And there is the second place car. That is Mario Andretti. Now, remember, he led in the early going, and then once Danny Sullivan pushed his way past him, Andretti seems to drop back. So now, let's check in with Bruce Jenner. Bruce, you're talking with the pit crew. What is the situation there? What are they saying about Mario?
All right, I'm with Darrell Soapy right now. And Darrell, what is the condition with Mario? It seems to be falling back a little bit, holding on.
Yeah, the car just seems to have a little bit of an oversteer condition right at the moment, so we'll see what happens when it runs down on a little lower on fuel.
What was the philosophy before this race started? Was to try to stretch it out like you did at Long Beach and make it on one stop, or are you going to go hard and definitely make two stops?
Well, we'll probably have to make two stops. If we got way out in the lead or something, we could have backed the boost down, but now that Sullivan's out in the lead, but we're going to have to go hard and try to catch him.
All right, well, good luck to you. I noticed you also had another tire right up here on the wall ready to put it on. Is there a possibility of an extra pit stop to change that tire?
No, if we change, we'll change all four.
Okay. Paul Page.
Thank you, Bruce Jenner. There's Mario Andretti. Gerald Soupy talked about his car, talked about what they are thinking, the car not handling. But Mario Andretti's team is very capable of making changes in that car in the pit stop. They did it at Portland 2 weeks ago and got it working perfectly. He won that race. Back to the leader. Here is Danny Sullivan as he chases now behind the slower car of Jose Garza. And there's a whole string of slower cars sitting in front of him. Sullivan comes to the inside, but you really have to tiptoe through here because you're not always sure they know you're there.
Yeah, he made a pass right there, so he's doggone sure working good. He went by Pete Halsmer. That was Pete instead of Jose there. And just passed him like there's nothing to it, the slow stuff.
Pete Halsmer on the circuit. He's actually, as Danny Sullivan comes through, he's moving through the back positions actually in about the 22nd position in the field as he begins to lap the cars now. Scotty Brayton just in front of him now as Danny Sullivan weaves his way through. And, of course, Mario Andretti has the same problem as well. And Sullivan has to be careful. There you got a good view of it as Brayton just drifted across the front of him. Now, see, chock the brakes hard.
Very hard place to pass.
And Danny Sullivan continues to lead at the Meadowlands. He picked up the lead from Mario Andretti on lap number 11. 19 laps are complete. We'll be back. We are back at the U.S. Grand Prix at the Meadowlands. I'm Paul Page with Bobby Unser, Bruce Jenner, and Gary Gerald, and we're looking at Michael Andretti, the younger Andretti. He started this race 19th in that Craco Electrolux car. He is now running 10th. He's really moving up.
You know, Michael was very fast last year, if you remember, here in the rain. It's kind of his type of track. He's muscle, he's strong, he's capable, but they haven't had much luck with the car lately, so I'm happy to see that Michael's gained as much as he has.
Young, aggressive young man, really cut his teeth running more on the road circuits, and this is indeed his kind of circuit. He likes to really throw the car around. He's doing a nice job with it today.
Yeah, it's kind of like Super B racing to it, you know.
Here comes Jeff Brabham into the pits. This car was running in third place at the time that he headed for the pits. Jeff Brabham carrying our onboard CART cam. Something wrong with the machine. Remember, the observers earlier suggested something wrong with the rear suspension. Bobby, that's where they're working. There's the live view.
He's got something serious wrong because he came in a little too slow to be in a hurry. I think he feels that he's got a pretty serious problem.
Jeff Brabham's crew, that orange disc tells him, hang on, don't get excited. We're working there. We've got our hands down in the back of the car. And now the crew going to work on that machine.
Of course, people will be pulling hard right now. Get it fixed in a hurry.
So Jeff Brabham, car number 7, he is into the pits, so that changes the fight up at the front of the field and moves Bobby Rahal up into 3rd place.
It looks like they're getting ready to pull the hood, Paul, and if you pull the hood, that's bad.
Jeff Brabham, who qualified 3rd in this field for this race today. Martin Fox, Paul Hawkes, the co-crew chiefs on that machine. They go to work on the car. The rear wheels comes off, and this looks like it is going to be an extensive stop. So we go back to the leader of this race, Danny Sullivan, car number 4. He is out in front. He picked up the lead on lap 11 from Mario Andretti. And in 2nd place now is Andretti. In 3rd place is Bobby Rahal. Al Unser Jr. is currently in 4th place. Emerson Fittipaldi 5th. Bruno Giacomelli 6th. And Kevin Kogan has moved up to 7th with Al Unser now running in 8th. And, of course, we mentioned that Michael Andretti is in 10th. That's the top 10 on your field here with this man leading the race.
Well, he's still doing a very good job, but he certainly is not slowing down. So it's going to be interesting to see if they want to make 1 or 2 stops. But Danny is not slowing down. He's charging hard all the way. And, of course, I like to see that type of a thing.
All right, it is our leader, Danny Sullivan. We talk about the fine-tuning of the aerodynamics on these cars, and then you make a massive readjustment on a wing like that, and the driver takes over and continues to drive well.
Makes mockery out all that, doesn't it?
Now, let's consider that stop by Jeff Brabham, and we will go back to Jeff Brabham's pit. Here is Bruce Jenner. Bruce?
Paul Page down here in the Jeff Brabham pit. What had happened is they had an ignition failure, completely stopped on them. They completely rechanged the ignition, and Jeff Brabham has gotten the car restarted. They're waiting, making sure that the bodywork is on. He's looking at his crew chief, waiting for the signal to get going. But Jeff Brabham was running such a great race in this Silver Bullet. They're putting on the rest of the bodywork, and he'll be back out on the race, but unfortunately, he'll be way behind. Paul Page.
Well, Bruce Jenner, Jeff Brabham is falling down through the field now as the rest of the cars come past, and he has dropped to 24th place. Now, Chuck Sprague with the air wrench in his hand out over the wall looking for Danny Sullivan and looking for the possibility of a pit stop. Lap 24, the leader heads down the pit road. This is very early, Bobby Unser, for a stop. It certainly isn't scheduled.
Well, let's see what they do. It could be. It's going to be a tire stop. They're going to change at least 3 tires on the thing. I don't know why. It seems to be a little bit early.
All right. As Danny Sullivan is in, Bruce Jenner is right in the area. Let's see if we can't call in Bruce Jenner. Are you ready to go, Bruce?
A little bit of strategy going on in the Danny Sullivan pit. They decided to come early, fill it up with fuel, and put some tires on it. It's a strategy change. It's different than everybody else, but we're going to see by the end of this race if it's going to pay off. Paul Page.
Of course, Mario Andretti comes by on the main stretch, and Mario picks the lead up.
Yeah, the bad part about Danny's stop early on, I know they have some good things they're looking at, but the bad part is that if a yellow flag were to come out now, complete yellow around the course, and bad accident or whatever, he would lose a lap at least.
Andretti comes back into traffic. That is Raul Boycel just in front of him in the 22 car. Andretti runs alone now in the lead of this race. There is Al Unser Jr. He's your nephew, Bobby. He currently runs in 3rd place, but he may now be moved up to 2nd. Bobby Rahal, he moved up to 3rd. Bobby Rahal in 2nd place is moving right up behind the leader now.
Well, I look for number 1 for little Al to have it. Oh, look at that. Boy, they were close there. But I look for little Al to have a good race today because this is his type of racetrack also, right from the Super D-Type program.
All right, let me clarify. The battle is once again at the front of the field as Andretti down in the first 2 turns. That's Arie Luyendyk just in front of him. One of the foreign competitors over here in the U.S. loving the CART series this year. And Bobby Rahal is currently chasing in the 2nd position.
Bobby Rahal's had such bad luck. I think everybody's kind of hoping that he finishes the race and gets a good run all day. I know that Jim Truman is certainly one of the nicest men I know. Is really wanting to do good today.
Bobby Rahal, there you look at him, that number 3 machine. He's certainly got a little further than he has most of the season. He had that terrible problem with an early accident at Long Beach at Indianapolis. He jumped into the lead of the race, really tore off, left the field when they really didn't expect it, and then he had problems within his fuel injection system, had to fall out of the race. Well, he's running good today. Danny Sullivan made a pit stop into the pits. They changed the tire. They worked a bit on the car. He dropped back to 6th place.
Well, they didn't really do much to his car except change tires, and I think it was a strategy by probably, well, it wouldn't have been. It would have been by Derek Walker and not Roger Penske in this particular case, so I don't know what Derek was thinking.
Well, Mario Andretti continues his pursuit of his national driving championship, but Bobby Rahal there in that red machine has something he hopes to say about it, and little Al closing right up in third place now. We look at the interval. There is Mario Andretti. And just back on the circuit, Bobby Rahal. Andretti running clean and alone.
Well, he likes that right now because his chassis is not working too good from what we heard from his pits. And he's probably just sitting there hoping that everybody leaves him alone until he gets to his first pit stop so he get his adjustments done and make the car handle better.
There's the interval with the battle for second place. And there is your brother Al, car 5 in the pits. He's in that car replacing Rick Mears, who's not driving the road races so far this year. What are we doing here, Bobby?
Well, obviously, Penske's team has decided to go with a 2-stop race. This is all. They've already told us what they're going to do. 2-stop, and they're making it early on. The next stop, I don't know when they're going to make, but I guarantee you that's the way they're going to do it.
Big Al started in 13th place, moved up to 7th before that stop. Now, of course, he'll fall back a bit. Most of the teams said that they would consider stopping about a third of the way through. These stops are a little bit early, Bobby.
Well, they are early, and of course, the only guys that have done them for fuel in tires, of course, has been the Penske team. So it obviously is Roger Penske's decisions.
Well, Mario Andretti runs this race alone. This is the fight now. It is a fight for second place, though it slacks off just a bit. Bobby Rahal is in second. Little Al is in third. And now as they come across the bridge, as Andretti brakes, they appear to close down. But, of course, Andretti comes off that corner faster and first, and so he begins to pull away. The intervals change quite a bit. Andretti leads, Rahal second, Al Unser Jr. third, Emerson Fittipaldi, followed by Bruno Giacomelli at the Meadowlands. We'll be back. We're back live at the Meadowlands, and this has just occurred. Danny Sullivan, a quick spin, slid off of the course and is trying to get his engine restarted. He is furious with the situation. He's holding up his hands. He's gesturing. He would like to get a tow. He wants to get back into the fight. He had moved back up to 6th place, but the car is dead on the circuit now. Now he says to the corner workers, get me going, get me moving in some way. He wasn't able to keep the engine going during the spin, and for just a moment he was saying, look at him, he's furious.
Paul, you know, under the present rules, they don't make the whole racetrack yellow for a spin out like that, like they do on the circle track. So he's got to wait till the truck comes along, and this is totally going to take Danny out of competition, no matter what.
The race is very quickly moving away from him. He is now a lap behind the leader. This is when it happened. Just a quick little spin, and look at that. He spun down into the traffic lane. Fortunately, nobody coming at the time. Then backed it around, tried to keep the engine going. I think you saw the bump there where it probably just shut off.
Well, what happened is the engine was turning backwards. He didn't get the clutch in time to save the engine, and I doubt that Danny's had a lot of experience with spinning because I don't see him spin much.
Not getting a lot of help. He was hoping that the corner workers would give him a push, try to get the engine going. He's falling very rapidly through the field as cars move past him. He is now back into the 20th position, so he is no longer a factor for the lead here at the U.S. Grand Prix at the Meadowlands. The lead continues to be Mario Andretti. Mario picked up the lead on the first lap. He led for 11 laps. Then Danny Sullivan took over. Then you saw Danny Sullivan move into the pits, drop well off the lead. And now Danny Sullivan has fun. It is still first place, Mario Andretti. Second place, Bobby Rahal. And Al Unser Jr. currently runs in third. Fourth place is Emerson Fittipaldi. Now maybe they're going to get it going. Steve Edwards and some of the CART crew is there, and they're going to try to get a tow going on Sullivan.
Yeah, they've got a truck there now. See, you can't push one after it stops like that. The fuel all vaporizes and vapor locks, and they just won't start by pushing it.
Exactly the point. The heat is built up in the engine. The fuel now vaporizes in the lines. You got vapor locks.
Yes, because the cars today have hoods over the engines, and you just don't get any air to them when they're sitting still.
Back at the lead, Bobby Rahal begins to knock on the back door of Mario Andretti. They're in traffic. Rahal darted to the inside to show Mario he was there and say, all right, pal, we're ready to play now.
Just about did a pass on him. I think Rahal's going to play it safe, but he's going to pass him, it looks like.
Bobby Rahal is the challenge for Mario Andretti in that Beatrice Lola right now as he closes down behind two bright red cars. Mario Andretti is still the leader. Rahal wants to prove that he can get back into the action. 2 wins toward the end of the season last year, and to start a bad one here. All right, Danny Sullivan's engine now started, and he is ready to run on the circuit again. But again, Danny Sullivan has fallen way back now to 24th place. The battle is truly for the lead. There's Danny Sullivan back and rolling on the circuit, but he is well back in the field. The battle for the lead is what concerns us at this moment. It's Mario Andretti, and he is being chased by Bobby Rahal as Rahal closes down in the first turn.
Well, it's got a 3-car battle right now. You got Mario, Rahal, and Al Jr. So I think we're going to have a good race in a minute. Might have lost Danny, but I think we're going to gain another good race right now.
All right, down in the Penske pits, Danny Sullivan is coming in. Let's go there. Bruce Jenner.
Danny Sullivan is in the pits right now. You can see him very frustrated. He's sitting inside the pits. He's looking around. He knows basically that it's over with. They're going to go for all 4 tires because obviously during the spin that he flat spotted it. They're just jacking the car up. They're not putting any fuel on because they've just been out a few laps on full fuel. They decided to wait. Here's his full fuel. Danny Sullivan at the pits. He's back in this race, but unfortunately, Danny Sullivan is a few laps down. A bad mistake. Paul Page.
Bruce Jenner right there in the center of the action in the Penske pits. As Danny Sullivan comes in, what Bruce was saying, he's flat spotted the tires when he spun. He has to change them. They won't handle it.
Well, Paul, I don't think he really did much flat spotting at the... That was a very slow turn that he spun in. It was a second gear turn, but...
Here comes the third place car. Al Jr. comes into the pits. He has not stopped yet, so this one should be routine. It is occurring on lap 34. From his demeanor, it appears to be, should be fuel, change of tires.
He's been running consistent, so I don't really think he has any problems. I bet it's just tires and fuel for him, and that's what it looks like it is.
Al Unser Jr. won at the Portland race last year, ran second, led much of that race this year, and then dropped back, finishing second. Al Unser Jr. Oh, Andretti was hit by Rahal. Andretti hit by Rahal coming into the corner. Jeff Brabham is there as well. Our camera car involved. Bobby Rahal got the nose in under braking. He slid right into the back of Andretti.
Well, it's a certain sure thing that Mario's out of the race. This race is being so much different, I just can't believe it. I don't think we've seen this much bad luck in an awful long time, but Mario's tire's not completely crooked, so he's going to be totally out of the race.
Well, it's anybody's bet right now as Bobby Rahal is rolling, though he's lost just a little bit. We'll have to see the scoring resolve. We assume that Bobby Rahal goes to the pits, and that should give the lead to Emerson Fittipaldi. There's Bobby Rahal as he is on the pit lane coming into the Truman pits right at the head of the pits there.
The trouble happened somewhere up in front of Mario and Rahal because one had to stop, the other couldn't help from hitting him. That's all it was.
There they go to work on the Rahal machine. The nose is broken, but it doesn't look like there's serious damage there. They can run with that.
They'll just take it off. It won't hurt a darn thing, especially at a track like this. Now, that would hurt at Indianapolis, but it won't hurt anything here. I'd say that Bobby Rahal is still in good shape.
Aerodynamics not a key factor here, so Bobby Rahal takes a change of tires. And there, Mario Andretti, who has had such a magnificent season so far, really only gave away 1 point this season, finishing second at Indianapolis. Now he sits on the wall out of this race. Let's look at it again. They come down. That's Jeff Brabham, number 7, in front. Andretti was under braking, and Rahal just ran into the back of him.
Well, Mario looks like he started sliding from braking before Bobby hit him, and then Bobby just had to stop. And Jeff was really the innocent person after we look at the rerun.
So the Beatrice Lola, you can see the right front.
Looks like Mario's rear brakes just locked up more than his fronts when he was getting into the turn.
Well, that certainly can happen. Braking bias on the front normally on a dry circuit. Andretti tried to get it under control, but Rahal was challenging at the time and smacked him right in the back. Here is the leader. As we suspected, it is Emerson Fittipaldi. He has finished second at Long Beach. He has not won an Indy Car race, but he's been right in the fight almost everywhere. Here's the other car that was in that accident, Jeff Brabham. That's the camera car. The crew looking it over now. Obviously, he's been touched.
Yes, he was the innocent one in that, and gosh, that's just their second long stop in the pits. I feel very sorry for the Gallus crew today.
Steve Edwards, the CART safety crew, they're now ready to try and get the machine off. Remember, these are not full course yellows. This is a road course. Yellow flag. You see it being waved there for that corner only. The rest of the circuit you can race. Now let's go down into the True Sports pits. Here is Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, we're down here with Jim Truman in a very busy Bobby Rahal pit. Can you assess the damage for us, Jim?
Looks like he got under Mario. I don't think there's any real damage other than we lost some fiberglass up front. I don't think it'll affect the car at all.
Well, here's the answer. You bring him back in right now. Bobby Rahal has come back into the pits, and we'll get up here on the wall where we can take a look, Paul. We see that the top of the nose cone is gone. They have the car up on jacks. They're checking the rear end. They're keeping the car up on the jacks at this time. They're still looking. Now one of the CART inspectors is also back there. All Rahal, of course, can do is sit here and wait patiently. And now they've brought wrenches to the front of the car, and I believe they've shut down the engine. Rahal is here in the pits, and he is going to remain for at least a few moments.
But we had hoped and speculated that perhaps he could keep going with just slight damage to the nose, but that's apparently not true now as he drops back through the field. Rahal now in 15th place as the rest of the cars come by, and they continue to work on that machine, the number 3 car of Bobby Rahal. So his bad luck continues.
They're working on both ends, Paul. I think we'll have to wait and see what they've got wrong here. They've really got something wrong in the back end, and it appears that nobody's paying any attention to it for a while there. They're certainly looking at it now. There's something hanging loose down there. Something is broken in the back, which I don't really think had much to do with the wreck.
All right, so as they continue to work on the Ray Hall machine, Bobby stays in the car. He'd like to get back in the race, but he continues dropping backwards here. He is in 18th place. The leader is Emerson Fittipaldi. Second place is Bruno Giacomelli. Neither man has ever won in an Indy Car race, and here comes our leader. Emerson Fittipaldi comes in for a pit stop. The 7-Eleven crew goes to work on that car. Gary Robazzini, the crew chief here, already working on the left front. Emerson Fittipaldi, ever so carefully, takes a drink of liquid so he can nourish himself once again. And the second place car, Bruno Giacomelli, the other team car on the Patrick team. Both the Patrick team cars in the pits now. George Tuning, the crew chief, working there.
They're both getting all 4 tires. Now, those guys could end up winning this race. That Pat Patrick would be the happiest man I've ever known if he won this race today.
Emerson Fittipaldi rolls back to the action. Bruno Giacomelli will be out just behind, but now Jr. has picked up the lead. Remember, he has already made his stop as Emerson Fittipaldi comes out alongside of Danny Sullivan, but Sullivan is now 3 laps behind the lead and in 22nd place. And Mario Andretti's car, badly damaged, comes off the circuit. There's the leader. He is Al Unser Jr. In second place is Kevin Cogan, and Michael Andretti has moved up to third. So the top of the field has changed drastically here at the U.S. Grand Prix in the Meadowlands. It's a whole new ball game. Now let's go to Len Berman in our studio in New York.
Okay, thank you, Paul Page. Looks like a real race of attrition at the Meadowlands. We'll have more of the U.S. Grand Prix in just a few moments. But first, boxer Vito Antuofermo. As a middleweight, he was known for giving quite a lot of blood in the ring. Last week, Antuofermo volunteered more when he led a New York blood drive. After a 2.5-year retirement, Antuofermo is making a comeback, but the only blood he intends to lose is in contribution. Vito Antuofermo, he is the subject of our Years Ago Today.
The passage of sports time. The moments are brief, but the memories are lasting. Today, we remember one of those moments, and it's brought to you by Prudential. For life, health, auto, home. Get a piece of the rock. Prudential Insurance.
6 years ago today, Vito Antuofermo, in a split decision, captured the World Middleweight Boxing Championship. Wade Boggs of the Boston Red Sox won't go to the ballpark without first eating a chicken dinner. The White Sox insist that with the help of hypnotist Harvey Mizell, they can play better. Hard Rock Green, he boxes with bubbles to stay in shape. Athletes find all sorts of bizarre and different ways to survive in their sports. But one of the most unique methods of survival is used by boxer Vito Antuofermo. Every night, for at least 45 minutes, Vito, with the aid of a snorkel and a Walkman, sticks his head in a bucket of pickle brine.
It preserves the skins. It tines the skin. And over a period of time, actually the lines from the cuts, they're disappearing.
Vito gained a name for himself 6 years ago today by capturing the middleweight championship against Hugo Coro. But Antuofermo cut easily, and it wasn't enough just to have a good cornerman. His fights became more of a battle with himself, trying to see past his swollen eyes. Marvin Hagler's tough enough when you can see him. In 1981, Antuofermo announced his retirement. But after 2.5 years away from boxing, Antuofermo is making a comeback. So far, he's been a success. With the help of his brew, his bleeding has been kept to a minimum.
I got a couple mixed. One is with pickle juice, and of course, it's not just pickle juice. There's a couple other ingredients mixed with it that I bake my face in every night up to about 2 weeks before the fight. I have a snorkel, as you see, and I put my face there. I stay like that for a whole hour every night. And then just before the fight, I have this other, it's blood brine. It's a pickle, it's pig blood brine. I had 3 fights since I started using this brine, and I haven't got cut. So I think it's working.
So in a world where a steady diet of chicken makes for a 300 career hitter, who's to say that a concoction more at home in a deli counter than in a boxing corner can't help Vito Antuofermo regain the title he won 6 years ago today.
A little girl was trapped.
We are back live at the U.S. Grand Prix at the Meadowlands. There's your leader, Little Al Unser Jr., car number 30. We've had a massive shuffling of the front of the field accident involving the first and second place car, Mario Andretti. Mario's car badly damaged. It's out of the race. Bobby Rahal's car badly damaged. Of course, neither driver hurt. And this man, through the pit stops, has picked up the lead. In second place is Emerson Fittipaldi, looking for his first win in CART. And in third place right now, Tom Sneva, who started well back in the field in 22nd, currently moving up into the 4th position. So it is quite a fight that we are having here on the circuit. Once again, it is Al Unser Jr. that leads, Michael Andretti second, Emerson Fittipaldi third, followed by Tom Sneva. But this is your leader. Now, once again, the situation was an accident just a bit earlier. All of the accidents have occurred coming off of the bridge on the 5th turn. This is not a high-incident place earlier in the practice sessions. They were all having trouble with the off-camber turn at 4. And there was the problem when Mario Andretti appeared to lock up the front brakes, tried to correct the slide. Bobby Rahal ran right into the back of him. Jeff Brabham at that time was sitting just in front of Mario Andretti. And so when the accident occurred, Jeff Brabham got center punched and spun around as well. There's A.J. Foyt, the grand champion, the winningest driver in the Indy Cars. He started in the back row. He moved up to 24th, but now A.J. Foyt is out of this race as he talks with Cecil and Billy Camphausen of CART there. A.J.'s out of the race. He made a valiant effort here, really trying hard to do well in this race. And here is Michael Andretti rolling to the pits and rolling slowly. He was running in second place when he came in. This is his first stop. Maybe they ran him too far, Bobby.
Well, he's trying to tell him something, and they're not listening to him. But it looks like he came in with a dead engine. We can't hear it from here, of course.
Is he perspiring and he wants something to wipe his face off?
No, he's got more problems than that. He came in too slow. He's still trying to tell them they're not listening. He may not even have a radio working right now, but now somebody's looking in the back. Let's see if he's got his engine running here. Now his engine's running. Sure came in awful slow to be making a pit stop.
Slow entry into the pits. Michael Andretti, who started in 19th and moved up. And here is Tom Sneva, who was running up in the lead serial as well. Now he is making his first and routine stop, as was Michael Andretti. But our leader, with 45 laps complete, is the Domino's Pizza car. That is Al Unser Jr., and he's made his stop. So now, there it is. Most of the cars on the lead serial have made their stop. Right now, it is this car that leads, the 30 car. The second place machine is Emerson Fittipaldi. Bruno Giacomelli is in third. Al Unser, the senior, is now in 4th place. And Tom Sneva should fall back, but currently being scored in 5th place during his stop.
Well, we can't tell right past that because everybody's been making pit stops, or at least most of the cars right recently, so it's a little mixed up right now.
And it will take a time for the drivers to move back into the order, reassemble their position. Al Unser Jr., magnificent young driver, cut his teeth on both ovals and road courses. He can drive anywhere, and he currently leads this race. He is looking for his second Indy Car win. Nice young man, too. Great joy to be around. Spends a lot of time with us and lets us know what's going on with his team on the inside. So he's very helpful. Doug Shearson has to be very proud of the fact that he is doing well in that car. He was originally scheduled over the winter to drive for the Lotus team, but that never developed, and at the last minute he was able to get this ride with the Doug Shearson team. So right now it is Al Unser Jr. as he comes alongside Kevin Kogan in that Preco Wolf car, and Kogan, of course, running off the pace now, and Kogan being scored now as in the fight. So we are watching a fight there for first and second place. Al Unser Jr. is the leader of this race.
Well, he's doing real good, Paul. He's got quite a lead right now, and he's, of course, Kogan is another real good road race driver.
Now they correct the scoring as well. When he got past him, he went one lap down, so Kevin Kogan wasn't truly running in the fight for the lead. They indicated that he was earlier. So it is now Al Unser Jr. that leads. In second place is Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll be back to the Meadowlands right after this. We're back live at the U.S. Grand Prix at the Meadowlands. This is Paul Page with Bobby Unser, Bruce Jenner, and Gary Gerald. And this man, Al Unser Jr., looking for his second victory in CART IndyCar racing. His first came a year ago at Portland on a road course. He is now 22 seconds out in front of the second place car of Emerson Fittipaldi. In third place is his father, Al Unser Sr. In fourth place is Jacques Villeneuve. But they are all running alone on the course. Michael Andretti is now currently running in 5th place, and Kevin Cogan is running 1 lap behind the leader in 6th place.
Well, the race is kind of spread out right now, and most of the spread is due to the pit stops, but partially, little Al is just going faster, running away from everybody. You know, he's got almost a half a lap lead right now, Paul.
22-second lead. Al Unser Jr. on the 2nd place car of Emerson Fittipaldi. All of the top 5 are running separate from one another. They're each driving their own race as little Al just goes over the halfway point, halfway through this race. Now, the 2nd place car is Emerson Fittipaldi. He is a 2-time world driving champion, driving for the Patrick Racing Team. He was retired from Formula One driving. He came back into the Indy Cars, and he's very, very happy with what he's doing as we continue to watch our leader. Little Al, there's a former world driving champion, the defending CART champion, as he walks away.
You know, you've noticed with Mario today, he's more relaxed. When we see him fall out of a race or have bad luck, usually he's very dejected and very bad mood. And he looks like he's in a fairly good mood today, so he probably feels that he couldn't help what happened.
Yeah, I suspect he's very philosophical. It looked like the front brakes just locked in his accident, and that's more lady luck than it is anything else. He tried desperately to save it, but Rahal was right there in proper racing position trying to tell him, and smacked the back end, forcing Mario into Jeff Brabham.
Unfortunately, we lost 2 of our best drivers, and in a way, we lost our camera car to some degree with Jeff Brabham.
Now, wait till I tell your nephew, who's currently winning, that you said that.
He's done a good job, and of course, nothing would make me any happier than to see Al Jr. win it today, and he's going to be extra careful. His crew has been coming on strong. You know, it takes a little while when you join a new crew to get the driver and the mechanics and the car owner and everybody all working together, and I've seen this team really starting to rebound, come along good.
They did a very nice thing yesterday. One driver conspicuous by his absence here is Roberto Guerrero, who started out in his primary car, had some fast laps, was going to sit up in the front of the field, and spun the car, wrecked it. Too severely damaged in the qualifying practice to make it into the race. He jumped right into the backup car, didn't make that, and then Doug Shearson seriously considered whether or not they could provide a car for Guerrero to run. They finally decided against it. There's the 2nd place car. Emerson Fittipaldi, we talked about him just a few moments ago, 2-time world driving champion. He loves racing these cars.
Oh, he does, and I'm going to tell you, Emerson is not only one heck of a good race driver, but he's also a very nice person, and he's tough. He's just plain a good race driver, and when he retired and came back, it's been a long road, but you have to take your hat off to the guy.
He is also a very young man at spirit. We were at a disco in New York in Manhattan just the other night, Visage. He was dancing with his wife, Theresa, having a marvelous time. Now, he's out here and giving it a go. Let's go down to the pits now. In the Andretti pits, here's Gary Gerald.
Paul, in sharp contrast to all the dancing and the fun the other night in the disco at Visage, here's Carl Haas now with a driver and a car out of the race, and this is the first time that real misfortune has struck this team this year. How bitter a pill is that, Carl?
Well, we feel bad about it. You know, it looked like Danny Sullivan dropped back, and we're chasing him in the points race. You know, we're leading it. It would have been nice to win this one and get a big gain. It feels bad right now. We haven't seen Mario yet or the car, how bad it is, but we'll see what happens and go on to the next one.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you 3 weeks at Michigan, and you've been a winner there in the past, and I know your team will be ready to go for another one in the 500.
Thank you very much.
Carl Haas, car owner, along with Paul Newman of Mario Andretti's machine.
Carl Haas, one of the 2 owners on that crew, and there is his driver, Mario Andretti, with some fans to walk along, offer him a cold drink, and commiserate just a bit to what has to be a saddened Andretti. The first really bad piece of luck he's had this season. Back to the leader, Al Unser Jr. He's your nephew, Bobby, and let's go back and take a look at how this situation developed that really brought Al up to the lead. Now, remember, it was Mario Andretti leading the race. This is Jeff Brabham, who was just in front of Andretti. That's your brother Al off to the right there. The accident's happening behind him now. Now he's hit, and he spins into the wall, touches it with the nose. If we could look to the left, Andretti was sitting just to the left of him. That's how the accident looked from Jeff Brabham.
It kind of looks like maybe Al pulled down on him, but he really didn't. All of it was in back. But I think it's a terribly good shot with the camera deal. It's the first time we've seen a car spin with our camera in it, as far as I can remember.
Well, that camera certainly appears to be working. We're proud of it. It's tough to work. There is the 3rd place car at the moment. That's your brother, Al, and he's doing a nice job.
Well, he's up near the front. Al is currently very fast, running in 4th place, and I know that little Al's probably wondering where Daddy is.
Car off the course. Jacques Villeneuve off of the 2nd turn there. Quick spin. And And, of course, the right front wheel damaged the left front, so the race is over for Jacques Villeneuve, who was running very well, had moved up to 4th place with all of this scrambling in the past few moments, and was only about 50 seconds behind the leader, so he was certainly in the fight.
Well, this is Canada's best, and we all feel sorry for Jack. He's a very good road race driver. He's not very good on circle tracks yet, but he does a super job on the road circuit, so I know Canada has to be very sad.
A man that's been under a great deal of pressure from the folks at Formula One because he has his Indy Car ride, but he sure seems to be enjoying it. Al Unser Jr. is our leader. 2nd place is Emerson Fittipaldi. Al's father is currently riding in 3rd place. Bruno Giacomelli sits in 5th place. So little Al out in front, driving a whale of a race, looking for his 2nd victory in CART.
You know, he's been running about 26, 27 seconds in front of Emerson Fittipaldi. Now, I know that he's probably just sitting there trying not to hurt the car and yet keep that big buffer in case they make a mistake in the pits or whatever. It could be a yellow flag, could be on the track. He's got a nice, comfortable lead right now.
Top 5 cars in this race have all been running right together, but now a fight appears to be developing between Bruno Giacomelli and your brother. We'll keep an eye on that. Should it really develop, we'll be right to it as we watch the leader, Al Unser Jr.
You know, as you watch him go around, Paul, each lap, I've been watching the TV's monitor and watching him on the racetrack. Every lap he hits that track in exactly the same place. He doesn't miss over 6 inches on any turn in any lap. Now, that's the sign that he's not tired. He's got a lot of confidence. He's taking care of everything.
He's young, he's strong, and he's good. We should definitely say that while this is the joy of a beautiful weekend in the New York area, we, of course, are continuing our concern for the fate of those over in the Middle East. NBC News is on top of that situation, and should anything develop, we'll go right there. We continue to watch our leader, the Domino's Hot One, Al Unser Jr.
Well, there's Emerson Fittipaldi right behind. Well, he's not right behind. He's 27 seconds behind, but Emerson's pressing hard. But remember, he's not going to run his car, I don't think, any harder than he has to. He's probably hoping little Al's going to have some problems down the road.
Emerson Fittipaldi, he's won a lot of races with just that particular technique, going nice and slow, relatively, keeping the car together. Let's go down to Emerson Fittipaldi's pits. Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, there's a complicating factor now for Emerson Fittipaldi. We've just been informed by the crew that Emerson has radioed in that he has some type of a handling problem that he thinks relates to the steering system. They aren't sure yet whether or not he's going to have to come in before the scheduled 2nd stop. That's what they're waiting to see right now. So there is a potential trouble spot, at least a bothersome problem for Emerson Fittipaldi.
That's an interesting point with Emerson Fittipaldi. The 57 car has got itself a problem as Randy Lanier out of Florida wasn't really running up near the front of the race at any time, but was running 16th when apparently something let go in the back of the car.
Yeah, it would appear an engine problem with him.
So there is our leader, Al Unser Jr. We'll talk in just a moment about Emerson Fittipaldi and the possibility of his problems. Fittipaldi 2nd, Bruno Giacomelli in 3rd. We'll be back to the Meadowlands after this.
Colonies celebrate their independence, we here in Britain will have a few fireworks of our own. Wimbledon, July 4th on NBC.
The blimp floats in the lazy, hazy summer skies over New Jersey, over the Meadowlands, where we are now 58 laps of 100 complete. And this is the 2nd place car, Emerson Fittipaldi. Gary Gerald just reported some kind of handling problem not related to suspension. Now, Bobby Unser, as we look at the facts here on Emerson Fittipaldi this year, he is driving a March. So was Danny Sullivan at Portland. And suddenly the steering rack, where the steering wheel connects to the front wheels, gave way and pulled out, keeping him from steering. Is that possibly a design fault that they might be dealing with that might now be affecting Fittipaldi?
I doubt it seriously. Emerson is really not slowing down very much, if any at all. And he's complaining about handling problem, but I think what he's doing is getting the pit crew ready to make an adjustment in there. Emerson doesn't have as many years with the Indy cars as a lot of the guys do, because he probably doesn't realize whether he should be worried about the problem or just continue driving through it.
Bruno Giacomelli, currently running in 3rd place, closes right up behind Emerson Fittipaldi. And your brother, Big Al, currently running in the 4th place, is sitting right behind them. So there is the fight on the race course. And there goes Big Al challenging Bruno Giacomelli. And he moves around. That's the Jim Crawford machine running as a back marker. And look at Al move out. Almost got it.
Almost got it. He might have clipped the wing right there. It was so close. That was a good pass by Al. Real good pass. Al's really coming on strong. Look at him go now.
Well, you know, we tend to think of him because of his 3 Indianapolis victories as an oval driver, but he's pretty confident on the road courses.
No, Al's always been every bit as good on a road circuit as he has been on a long track. He didn't get the wing. I just looked at it there, even though it looked like he got awfully close. But he's on the move right now. Al could very easily end up first or second in this race. We could have a 2-Al race if we're not careful.
Always looking out for his brother, Bobby Unser. One Unser leads it, another one currently in the highlights here. Al Unser, who started 56 different road circuits in his life, has won 5 different times on a road course, and looks like he is in the fight on this one. We should point out, too, as he closes down behind Emerson Fittipaldi, that is the car, the Pennzoil machine, normally assigned to Rick Mears. But Rick has decided, as a result of that crash last year at San Air, his feet just hurt him too much to try all of the problems involved with a road course.
I talked to Rick about that, Paul, and his nerves are starting to grow back in his feet. His feet got torn up awfully bad. The nerves are coming back, and he has an awful lot of pain. It's sad because Rick's a very good race driver, capable of driving with everything except his feet. And he just can't work the clutch and the brake with his feet without too much pain.
I sat down and talked to Rick just before the start of this race. He is, by the way, sitting in the pace car at this moment. He drove the pace car for the start, and should it be called back out again, he will be in it. And I said, Rick, I think you're just being smart. Let's just take it easy, and when you're ready to come back and drive on the road courses do. The ovals don't need nearly the wear and tear on the feet that the road courses do.
Oh, that's absolutely true. And I'll guarantee you right now, he's a big supporter of Al's, and he's really pushing Al on. He wants to see his car pass Fittipaldi, and of course he'd like to see it win the race, to be honest with you.
And look at your brother push Emerson Fittipaldi. The fight is on now, and it is a fight for second place as Al wants to come up and join his son here.
Well, I think he's going to pass him. I think it's just a mere matter of time. It's hard to pass here, as we said earlier. I think it's just a mere matter of time until he finds the hole he's looking for. Right now, maybe it.
That's Scott Brayton, the slower car there. Look at Al close right in. Boy, he's got to be careful.
He's running all over Emerson. He just can't get by.
Now on the 5th turn, this is where that accident occurred earlier. Al drops back just a bit. We're going to watch him. We'll maybe get a run on him through the fast section.
This is a good race. This is what keeps Indy Car racing the sport that it is today. It's racing like this.
The crowd here at the Meadowlands, they are certainly enjoying this race, and it is being run in the dry. Remember, the first race started in the rain, finally went dry. The sun peeks out every now and then. Beautiful time here at the Meadowlands as we watch the battle for second place.
Did you realize how much experience between those two cars, years of racing experience that you have? You ought to see a doggone good race.
The World Driving Championships, 3 Indianapolis victories as Al Unser now slams down into the pit area and goes down for the Penske pits.
Now this looks like a normal stop. He's coming in fast and furious. Let's watch these guys work. This is a good pit crew. This is Rick Mears' own crew. They should be very fast and very efficient.
Peter Parrott changes the left front. Gary Breon's working on the back tires.
Watch Roger Penske up there. Watch Roger Penske. He's talking to Al and telling Al where to go, when to go. Watch him. When he drops his hand, that's when you're going to see Al shoot away. Watch it.
3-tire change for the Penske team. Al Unser is there waiting to drop it off the jacks. Does that indicate we have a clutch problem? They dropped the car with the wheels rolling.
No, I think Al was just waiting to go because Penske tells him when to go.
Bruno Giacomelli currently running in 5th place. Dropped back just a bit as a result of this stop. A young man from Italy in his 2nd year of IndyCar driving, former Formula 1 driver, as they work on the right front of that car. It's going
They lost a nut. They had a problem with the wheel nut on it, Paul. Is what they're doing. You see?
Let's go down to the Patrick Pitts, Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, they had a problem, as Bobby indicated. They lost the nut apparently up on the right front. They also had a problem on the right rear. Now Giacomelli pulls away. That was a very long stop. They did change all 4 tires, but there was a problem on both right sides.
Anybody that doesn't think, Gary Gerald, that the crew gets involved in this, you saw the frustration there. One of the crew members threw his helmet off. They're just as much involved as the race driver.
I'll guarantee they are. You ought to see Pat Patrick right now. I'll bet he's not too happy.
May not be throwing a helmet, but there's a lot of head shaking going on there. Little Al, 33 seconds in front of the 2nd place car. Emerson Fittipaldi is now really on the cruise.
Well, he's just taking care of things, and he's doing a good job. If he did it any differently, we'd be ashamed of him, but he's doing a very good job. He's pulling away slowly, and I'm sure that if he wanted to press it right now, he could probably pull away a lot faster than he's doing.
64 laps are complete. 100 are scheduled. Let's go down to Bruce Jenner now with Mario Andretti.
Mario, what happened out there? Looks like Rahal got you on braking.
Well, he did. I think he probably should try to check his depth perception a little bit. Hit me square in the back under braking, and
I wound up into Brabham and I damaged my front suspension.
It's got to be real disappointing. You've had so much luck at the beginning of this year. Things have been going so well. You've been getting all the points, leading the series, and then something like this happen. It's got to be very disappointing.
Well, it's senseless, really, because things like this can and should be avoided.
Well, the Beatrice team, I'm sure, will respond in the next race and do quite well. Congratulations on the series up to now, and I'm sure you guys will get it going again.
Yeah, I'm thinking we'll try.
All right. We're looking at it again. That's when Jeff Brabham got tagged in the back by Mario Andretti, and Bobby Rahal piled into Andretti as well. 3 cars involved, taking out the first 2 places. And finally, the lead drops down to this man who continues to run. 33 seconds out in front. Allenser Jr., Little Al.
Yeah, doing a good job. Still doing it. You just watch every lap. I just can't believe how he can really put that race car right exactly where he wants it, Paul.
As we're watching the leader, we should also recognize that currently running in 3rd place is this car. That is Michael Andretti, Mario's son. He started in 19th place. He's moved up to 3rd. Good run for Michael.
It is a good run. You know, he and Al Jr. kind of came up through the ranks together. The Super Bs, and a lot of their racing was together. And both of them are just about the same age, and they're both going to be young tigers.
All right, interesting situation. We have the young Allenser Jr. in 1st. We have the venerable Emerson Fittipaldi, 2-time world driving champion, in 2nd, and the young Michael Andretti in 3rd. So they've got Emo Hammock there. Let's talk about, is this man, the leader, Al, is he as sharp at doing this as Emerson Fittipaldi is? Does he know how to win it?
In a lot of ways, I think he's probably sharper, and I'm not running Emerson down when I say that, but little Al has lived in the United States and been more used to our type of racing longer, and I think he's been around the Indianapolis cars because of his father and myself all of his life, so I just think he's more used to it, Paul.
All right, it is Allenser Jr. out in front, followed by Fittipaldi, Andretti, Allenser Sr., and Tom Sneva. We'll come back to the Meadowlands after this.
This is an NBC News hostage update. I'm Roger Mudd in New York. The 39 American hostages are wheels up. They have just taken off from Damascus on a U.S. Air Force C-141 jet transport. They're en route to Rhein-Main Air Force Base in Frankfurt, West Germany, a flight of about 5.5 to 6 hours. So after their 17-day ordeal, these former hostages are now in American hands, and they are almost free and clear of both Syrian and Lebanese airspace. There is a full moon over Damascus tonight. President Reagan is scheduled to make a statement from the Oval Office within the next hour, which we will carry live from the White House. I'm Roger Mudd, NBC News, New York.
And now, little Al is running right behind. Emerson Fittipaldi is out in front of this race, and Allenser Jr. is just 2 seconds back in 2nd place. Emerson Fittipaldi, car number 40, the 711 machine. He leads, a 2-time world driving champion. He's really run a pretty smart race, but he probably has a stop yet to get to the end of this race.
He does. I'm sorry, Paul. He does have to make a stop yet. I was watching for that.
And the stop that Al made will carry him to the finish with 68 laps complete of 100 scheduled.
Yes, he's right at 70% of the race. He should be able to go all the way with tires and fuel. Emerson will have to stop again. That'll put Emerson back behind little Al again. And aside from that, we should have a good race. We also had a slight collision between Lordy mercy, let's look at it.
Emerson Fittipaldi, the leader. What are you trying to look up, Bobby?
Oh, 2 cars touched each other a while ago. I saw it during the commercial.
Had some contact between Kevin Cogan and Tom Sneva, indication that they both touched just ever so lightly, maybe some damage. They are watching them to see what goes on and whether or not they'll continue. They appear to be continuing rather well right now. Emerson Fittipaldi leads by 1.5 seconds over Al Unser Jr. We'll be back to the Meadowlands right after this.
It's like no other race in the world, the Michigan 500.
The view from above as we are back live at the Meadowlands. That's Giants Stadium up there in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And, of course, between there and here is the circuit of the Meadowlands. 1.68 miles, 11 turns. And the master at the moment is the number 40 car driven by Emerson Fittipaldi. You're watching him as he serpentines around this circuit. This is a very fast, blind 11th turn on the circuit coming for the main straightaway.
Yeah, one of the things that's changed today, Paul, is when we started this race, you remember we had quite a few clouds around, and the track surface was cool relative to the way it is now. Now we have no clouds blocking the sun. The racetrack has got to be slippery.
Emerson Fittipaldi comes out alongside Tom Sneva. Sneva's down in the order right now. He is currently running in 5th place, so he goes another lap down. And let's go to the pits now. Bruce Jenner.
Thank you, Paul. With me, Jeff Brabham. And, Jeff, you really ran into some problems out there. The car qualified so well in the second row, and then all of a sudden it looked like it was electrical.
Yeah, unfortunately, the car suddenly took to eating the spark boxes, and the engine cut out the first time, luckily, as I was coming out of the corner onto the straight, so I was able to coast down. But the second time, I couldn't coast back to the pits, so we're out of the race. It was a shame.
What about the Mario Andretti and the Bobby Rahal incident? Looks like you just couldn't do anything.
No, I didn't know anything was going on, so suddenly I had a big bump up the rear, and it just spun me around. So, you know, I don't know what happened there.
Well, an unfortunate day for you, but you'll be back at Cleveland. Good luck.
Well, we'll be back, and we're running up front, so I'm happy. Lady Luck can't keep against us all the time.
All right, let's go back to Paul Page.
Jeff Brabham, and we thank him for carrying our camera car to the point that he did. Almost got it in the lead. Out of race, of course, Roberto Moreno had an accident early on as the first car out. Garza with an engine problem. Mario Andretti, you saw the accident. That same accident also took out Bobby Rahal, though Rahal tried desperately to stay in the race and ran a few extra laps. Jeff Brabham, part of the same accident. A.J. Foyt, his gearbox finally let go on his machine. So there are the faces. There are the men that are now spectators here at the Meadowlands. This is the man that leads, Emerson Fittipaldi.
Yes, and he's certainly doing a good job. But he knows right down deep that he still has to make a pit stop, and he's going to have little Al pass him then, so I imagine they're doing a lot of thinking about what's going to happen.
Here's the dad. Here's Big Al. He is currently running in 5th place, and he's about 29 seconds behind what is a static battle for the lead right now. Emerson leads it, and Al Unser Jr. is in 2nd place.
Well, you know, really the way it's going to turn out is Al Sr., Big Al, is going to end up a lap down when everybody ends up making their pit stops, because little Al is for all practical purposes, going to be in the lead if the cars don't conk out or anything, because he's made his pit stops, and Emerson has yet to make one. Hope that didn't sound too confusing.
All right, there is a report now coming in that the Penske crew, supposedly, we haven't confirmed it, Gary Gerald will be able to confirm it in just a moment, as we watch the Penske crew, Chuck Sprague, and the Sullivan crew going to work on Danny Sullivan's car. But the claim was that a CART tech person might have taken something off of Al Unser Jr.'s car, which they might protest. We'll try and follow up on that story as well. Routine stuff for Danny Sullivan. Of course, he is not truly in the competition. He runs in 13th place. The man that is the leader is this two-time world driving champion, back rejuvenated in Indy Car racing. It is Emerson Fittipaldi.
Another interesting thing is Danny Sullivan has really been the fastest car on the track for lap speeds, but it doesn't do much good.
Doesn't matter at all. He fell so far behind the lead of the race. Fittipaldi leads, and the Unsers, Jr. and Senior, are 3rd. We'll be back. With 76 laps complete of 100 scheduled, we watch Emerson Fittipaldi, started in 5th, currently is the leader here in the 2nd Grand Prix at the Meadowlands. Two-time world driving champion, wonderful man out in front of the field. The 2nd place man is the number 30 car. That is Al Unser Jr. And the 3rd place car is the 5th, the number 5 car, which is his father, Al Unser Sr. So 1, 2, and 3.
You know, if we remember back just a little bit, Emerson was complaining about car handling. But I would say right now that he doesn't seem to have any. He's leading the race quite easily. Of course, little Al is made his stops, and Emerson hasn't.
All right, let's take a look at this. This was videotaped earlier. We were talking about was something taken off of the car. Watch the official. He was down feeling the front section of the car. What's he doing, Bobby?
Well,
pulled off a brake scoop.
Well, it looks like he just had something broken off the car and was taking it off. It could have been a brake scoop that was hanging loose.
All right, what is it legally? Should he have done it?
Yes, there's nothing wrong with it. For safety, you just pitch something out of the way. I don't see anything wrong legally with that.
So you would interpret that as an action for safety and not work by an official on the car?
Definitely not, because it was laying loose, because otherwise he couldn't have pulled it off.
All right, if that is true, then it's not protestable, because that official can do anything that he wants to do if it's going to make it safer.
Safety.
Let's go down to the Penske pits in just a moment. Bruce Jenner is working his way down there to try and get Roger Penske's opinion. Let's go to Bruce Jenner now.
Right now I'm with Roger Penske. And Roger, what exactly happened with the Al Jr. car?
Well, when the car came in, the front air duct was hanging down, and the officials started working on the car. It would have taken them another 5 or 10 seconds to take that off. So I just asked them, you know, where they can do that in the rules.
Have you filed a protest, or are you just thinking about it?
No, I wouldn't file a protest. I just think they have to decide what they have to do.
All right, thank you very much. In just a minute, we're going to move right over here because we got Danny Sullivan. Danny, could we talk to you for 1 second? Unfortunately, you started off so strong, Danny, and then it looks like you just touched Mario's left rear tire and knocked out that front spoiler.
Well, I did, but it didn't seem to bother it, and it knocked it askew and down a little bit, and it later came back to require a pit stop, but you know, it was kind of a silly thing. I thought I had a little run on him there and that he might break a little early. I didn't expect for him to do it quite like that. And then
what happened in the spin?
Just somebody shut the door, not paying attention to the blue flags. There seems to have been a lot of that out there. And
you just got out of this. All right, tell you what, we're going to go back up to Paul Page right now. Thanks, Danny.
Okay. All right, Danny Sullivan frustrated. Let's go to the other bin to the pits. Gary Gerald.
Well, we're standing by at the Emerson Fittipaldi pit. As you can see, the crew has come over the wall. They're anticipating that Emerson will bring the number 40 car in for routine service, but of course he's going to have to relinquish the lead. We'll stand by for that moment, Paul.
That beautiful woman right behind Gary Gerald is Theresa Fittipaldi, his bride. And did you see the look on her face? Come on, Emmo. There's Christy Brinkley and Alan Nerob. Christy, of course, is a great follower of Danny Sullivan, one of his biggest fans, and they're now talking over their disappointment. Emerson Fittipaldi, we anticipate a stop. Lap 79, now complete by the leader. Fittipaldi should come in. He would, of course, be making his last stop in the race. They talked earlier about a handling problem. It doesn't seem to be affecting the car at this moment.
No, I don't think so, and I really don't think we're going to see anything from that problem between with little Al and the stuff taken off. There comes Emerson in the pit right now for his last pit stop. Let's see how fast it's going to be here, Paul.
Let's go to Gary.
All right, Emerson Fittipaldi in the pit. They're looking at the steering wheel. We got a thumbs up from the crew chief in front of Emmo. His eyes flash this way. He's watching for the signal. It's fuel. They are not changing any rubber. It'll be fuel only. They want them to disengage. Finally, Fittipaldi pulls away, but it was a little bit longer than the crew chief wanted.
All right, there's a new leader as Allenser Jr. picks the lead up on that stop. What I think may have happened there, that little bit of confusion, they really only wanted a timed stop. They only wanted to put enough fuel in to get to the finish. And the refueler is apparently just a little bit long. So now the lead changes once again. It is Allenser Jr. that leads, Fittipaldi second. Al Sr. is in third. We'll be back at the Meadowlands right after this message.
Good afternoon, I'm John Palmer. Coming up shortly on NBC Nightly News, a complete report on the freeing of the 39 TWA hostages who arrived in Syria this afternoon after being released by their Shiite captors in Beirut. We'll have reports from Damascus, Beirut, Washington, Tel Aviv, and West Germany on NBC Nightly News.
We are back live at the Meadowlands as you are watching Al Unser Jr. in the 30 car leading this race and perhaps on his way to his second Indy Car victory, his first of this season. The first one coming 1 year ago at Portland. And here is a fight that has been going on for some laps. Bobby, we've taken great joy in this. It's a battle for third. That's your brother, Big Al, in third. And that's Michael Andretti pulling down and getting around Big Al.
Yes, that battle's been going on for a long time, and I've been kind of watching it. And really, it's between Emerson, clear back now to Al Sr. And it's been a real good race.
So a terrific fight. Second, third, fourth place. And it is Michael Andretti moving up now as Michael comes up to third. Remember, he started 19th in this race. What a wonderful drive for him.
It's his type of racetrack, and we know that Michael's he's really really a good, young, upcoming driver, and got a beautiful future that he's looking at.
Nice young man, too. Very polite. His father, that Italian, really put some Italian discipline there. He's very polite, very well-mannered young man. And he is in a position to win his first Indy Car race. He's certainly within striking distance of the leader.
He had trouble with his car during practice and qualifications. That's where he didn't qualify good. He just couldn't get the chassis set right. So it looks like they took a gamble or a chance or a guess and really got it working good for today.
Once they got the green flag, he got moving. He is now running at the front of the field, and he is showing Big Al the way.
Well, remember one thing now. Big Al's got a little bit of experience. He's not going to just let him off too easy.
There's second place. Emerson Fittipaldi, 29 seconds behind the leader, and only about a second and a half in front of that battle that we have been watching through the past few moments. Just really about 250 yards on the course. Well, there they close up. You see them as they're coming in behind him.
They've all been running within 3 seconds. That's really been the best race of the day that's lasted a long time.
All right, so we're watching as Al Unser Jr. leads the race. Emerson Fittipaldi 29 seconds back, and just ahead of this battle for third place, the young and the old, the veteran and that aggressive young driver, Michael Andretti.
You know, there's another thing that you notice in that pit stop, that where Roger was a little bit worried about the official taking Al's air scoop off. Remember, now he doesn't have an air scoop on the left front of that car.
Good point.
Now, as long as he stays out in lead, running clean air, he can kind of take care of his brakes. But if he were to have to get traffic for some reason, he could heat up that left front brake.
All right, that scoop's job is to force air down onto the brake rotors and discs and help it cool down so it stops more efficiently. If it doesn't, then it will grab, it'll pop, it'll move around on them, and that'll make it very unstable to drive.
Also, when they get too hot, the rotors rather have a tendency to crack if they get too hot. But I know little Al, he is mechanically minded, so he'll be trying to take care of his brakes.
So he knows what's happening there as we come back to Al Unser Jr., who is our leader. This is not little Al. There he is just in front. And a question on the right front of his machine. We saw it. The official took off that device that forces air down onto it, and the brakes are really used here. They use them a lot.
An awful lot. That's the reason you can't see them in most of the shots, but they have a lot of air scoops on there just to force a lot of air in, and the rotors are all ventilated where they take air in and pump the air out. As they rotate, they actually pump air through the rotors.
Of course, these cars are configured considerably different than they will be when we see them at the Michigan 500 in July. They are on their road circuit configuration. Great big back wing, extra wings in front of the rear wheels, and great big scoops to suck air in. As he goes away, you can see the two scoops almost like periscopes at the rear wheels sticking up.
Yeah, those two periscopes are the air scoops for the rear, Paul. And when you go to Michigan
in the pits, there's his wife, Shelley. What's going on? Come on, little Al.
Let's look at it.
She's a nice lady. At one point, she offered to come work with us in the pits, help us out. Well, I said, no, I want you in the pits. I want you to stay with me because I'm doing good.
She's got everything she has crossed, hoping that her husband, little Al, is going to win this race.
So Al Unser Jr. out leading, 86 laps complete, 100 scheduled. He is working on lap number 87 now, so he is closing down on the finish. But closing down on him is Emerson Fittipaldi. Last time we noted interval, it was 33 seconds. It is now 29 seconds. Fittipaldi is nicking away, but he's going to have to do it faster if he's going to catch the leader.
He really doesn't have enough time left in the race to do it if things remain as they are. But remember, this is what you call a buffer zone. 30 seconds is a little bit too much of a buffer zone. But if you can have it, it's a good one, believe me.
And I guess we should point out that earlier in the race, we had two cars doing magnificently, Andretti and Rahal, and then suddenly they're together on the course, and everything changed. So at the moment, it is Al Unser leading as we go to the closing laps. But will he stay there? We'll answer that question when we come back to the Meadowlands right after this. A look across the Hudson into Midtown Manhattan and the Empire State Building of the Big Apple. We're just across the way at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. The second time the Indy cars have come to race here. It's been a magnificent race. Here is our leader, Al Unser Jr., the number 30 Domino's Hot One, running out in front. Question mark on his right front wheel. Tom Sneva in the pits. He was running in 6th place. Quick stop in. Looks like just a refuel, but a bit of a problem.
He's got
something under the car.
Yes, I think it's another air scoop or a wing dragon. I didn't have time to see it, Paul.
Something dragging on the left front. Now, remember, they said he had contact earlier. We reported it with another car. Indicated that he bumped into Kogan and that there might have been some damage, and maybe that is the damage that results. Here is our leader. Second place car, 31 seconds back. Emerson Fittipaldi just behind him. There, look at this. Kevin Kogan slides off the course. Kogan was running in 7th. That is in turn 4, the off-cambered turn. And Big Al came cruising right on through, but he did that right in the midst of the second, third, and fourth place car.
I bet that makes those Wolf System people feel sad about that little deal.
So
Kevin's been doing a good job today in the Wolf car.
Kevin Kogan was up to 7th, but he'll drop back just a bit. Let's look at it again. Bobby Unser, Big Al on the inside. There's Kevin.
Al locked his brakes first. Both of them were kind of going to get to the same place at the same time, and Kevin ended up in the worst end of the deal, but I think it was kind of a tie, really.
Kevin was pushing going into the corner and was just cutting across the turn. I think Big Al saw it. Here's something laying out on the circuit. Let's see where it is. That's really out to the left of the line in the 4th turn, so it should not be a factor, except Kevin Kogan runs through there again. That was his line on the last corner.
Somebody's parts, too.
Yeah, probably Kevin's. Probably Kogan's. The corner workers waiting for a clear shot to run out there and get him back. And we're looking at Kevin Kogan, who now comes into the pits after that quick runoff, and he says there's something there. We'll get some fuel. We'll take a look at it. Look at the hose over his left shoulder there. That helps ventilate him, helps cool him down just a little bit.
Well, they need that. It's a hot day today, Paul.
Kevin Kogan, the Wolf System car, back into the action. 7th place when he went into the pits. Of course, he might lose some positions now, but they're spread out enough. He might be able to stay right in his position of 7th. The leader is Al Unser Jr. with just 9 laps to go. 100 laps, 168 miles, the scheduled distance here. And Al driving carefully, driving conservatively, 31 seconds in front of Emerson Fittipaldi. We have to keep thinking about that right front brake. Could it cause him a problem? If it does, it could do it at any moment.
Yes, it could, but I don't think it's going to now. And the reason I'm saying that, he only has 9 laps left to go. His pit crew is telling him, either by the pit board or by the radio, to be careful. Don't take any chances. He has 31 seconds to the good, to the lead, so he's not going to make mistakes with that brake now.
As we watch little Al and keep him in front of the national audience, we have to keep thinking about the battle for 2nd place. It's really developing into a two-way battle between Emerson Fittipaldi and Al Sr. So we'll keep mind of that for you as well, and if something happens there, we'll drop right to it. And there goes little Al past Howdy Holmes. Al's still nice and smooth.
Oh, he is. He doesn't take care of his car now. He never did. He can see. He's just like a vulture. He sees some what we call fresh meat. He sees the winning of the race right in front of him. He sees all the possibilities there. There's really cinching up.
With 8 laps to go, there is 2nd place Emerson Fittipaldi. That's 31 seconds behind little Al. And just behind this car is the 3rd place car. That's Big Al, little Al's father. So the Unsers figuring prominently into the top 3. Little Al brings that machine around, smooth, careful, watching the brake. Down in the pit area, though, conversations continue. Just a moment, we'll be going down to Bruce Jenner, who is keeping an eye on Al Unser Jr.'s team. That's Doug Shearson, the car owner, and the pit crew. So we watch little Al on the circuit smoothly around. Let's go down to Bruce Jenner now. Bruce, are you there?
Dennis Swan is the crew chief for little Al's team, and right now you're out with a nice, comfortable lead, but it seems to be an awful lot of tension down here.
Well, you never win until it's all done, so there's always a lot of tension.
How about the car? Has he reported about any handling problems or anything wrong with the car?
No, the car's run very well. It's no problems at all.
All right, you guys so far have had a perfect race. Not too many laps to go. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Paul Page.
All right, Bruce Jenner. Dennis Swan looking for the possibility of a win. There is his car. It is out in front in this race.
The Domino's Pizza have a good team. It's taken them a little while to get this team all put together with little Al being their new driver, but it's been coming together. Portland, it looked real good. It's looking better today.
All right, now we do have to remember that while we are watching this race and we're enjoying this now sunshiny afternoon in New Jersey, there are major news events happening in the world, happening in the Middle East, happening in Washington. We will leave this race in just a moment as we consider what the President of the United States has to say. That, of course, takes dominance over this race, but then we'll come back and let you know exactly what's happening as Al Unser Jr. is our leader.
Well, he's still looking good, and I don't foresee any problems, and I can tell by the way Dennis is so relaxed during the interview they had with him, Paul. I don't think they foresee any problems.
They seem very confident with that machine, despite the fact that the brake system on the left front is a matter of question. So now, as Al Unser leads, Emerson Fittipaldi is 2nd, Big Al is 3rd. We will be back with this race, but these other events, of course, are a great deal more important than our pleasurable sports afternoon. So now, let us go to NBC News. Roger Mudd with this report from New York.
This is an NBC News hostage update. I'm Roger Mudd in New York. The 39 American hostages, 36 passengers, and the TWA crew of 3 are now airborne on their way from Damascus, Syria, to the Rhein-Main U.S. Air Base in Frankfurt, West Germany. This is the signal the White House has been waiting for. Mr. Reagan reportedly has already talked to the hostages on a radio lash-up between the White House and the Air Force C-141 plane that's carrying them to West Germany. And he is now about ready to talk to the country about the hijacking and the circumstances that led to the hostage release. Advance word is that the president will continue maintaining the tough rhetorical position he assumed 2.5 weeks ago. The president himself wants to welcome the hostages back to the United States, but the details of their return, when, on what sort of plane, at which airport, these details are not yet available. Vice President Bush is on his way to Frankfurt to be the highest American to welcome them back to U.S. property. Now, from the Oval Office, the President of the United States.
Good afternoon. The 39 Americans held hostage for 17 days by terrorists in Lebanon are free, safe, and at this moment on their way to Frankfurt, Germany. They'll be home again soon. This is a moment of joy for them, for their loved ones, and for our nation. And America opens its heart in a prayer of thanks to Almighty God. We can be thankful that our faith, courage, and firmness have paid off. But this is no moment for celebration. Let it be clearly understood that the 7 Americans still held captive in Lebanon must be released, along with other innocent hostages from other countries. That the murderers of Robert Steedham and of our Marines and civilians in El Salvador must be held accountable. That those responsible for terrorist acts throughout the world must be taken on by civilized nations. That the international community must ensure that all our airports are safe and that civil air travel is safeguarded, and that the world must unite in taking decisive action against terrorists, against nations that sponsor terrorists, and against nations that give terrorists safe haven. This drama has reminded us how precious and fragile are the freedoms and standards of decency of civilized societies, how greatly civilized life depends on trust in other human beings, but how those values we hold most dear must also be defended with bravery, a bravery that may lie quiet and deep, but that will rise to answer our call in every time of peril. Freedom, democracy, and peace have enemies. They must also have steadfast friends. The United States gives terrorists no rewards and no guarantees. We make no concessions. We make no deals. Nations that harbor terrorists undermine their own stability and endanger their own people. Terrorists, be on notice. We will fight back against you in Lebanon and elsewhere. We will fight back against your cowardly attacks on American citizens and property. Several countries have been actively involved in efforts to free our fellow citizens. Syria has had a central responsibility. The efforts of the Algerian government were likewise an example of constructive cooperation against the direct challenge of lawless terrorists. King Hussein spoke out early and forcefully in condemning the hijacking. Saudi Arabia also made an effective contribution. Throughout the past 17 days, we have also been in close touch with Israel and a number of governments in Europe and the Middle East, as well as with international organizations, all of which displayed great concern for the safety and release of the hostages. We will remember and offer our thanks to all who helped us and who stood with us. And yes, we'll remember those who did not. We will not rest until justice is done. We will not rest until the world community meets its responsibility. We call upon those who helped secure the release of these TWA passengers to show even greater energy and commitment to secure the release of all others held captive in Lebanon. And we call upon the world community to strengthen its cooperation to stamp out this ugly, vicious evil of terrorism. I just want to inject a personal note here that, like all of you, Nancy and I have been living with all these 17 days, and like you, we have both been praying for what has now taken place. And like you, we thank God and wait with bated breath their final arrival here on our shores. Thank you.
So the President of the United States has given the nation a quick update on his feelings now that the 39 hostages are clear of Syrian airspace on their way to the U.S. Air Base in Frankfurt. He said to the terrorists that we will fight back against you. We will not rest until justice is done. He said for terrorists there will be no reward, no deals, no concessions. And he paid special thanks to the governments and leaders of Syria, Algeria, King Hussein of Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. He said, however, this was no time for a celebration, that there are seven other Americans still kidnapped somewhere in Lebanon. He also said they will seek out the murderers of Robert Steedham, who was the one fatality in the hijack episode, the Navy diver who was brutally murdered by the hijackers, and the 4 Marines who were killed during that same period in El Salvador. Now let's go to Chris Wallace at the White House. Chris, what was the main reason for that speech?
Well, I think the main reason for the speech, and it was clear from the speech, was that the president very much wants to build on the growing national sentiment, the growing world sentiment against terrorism. He doesn't want people to think that this incident is over when those 39 Americans return back safely to the United States. He wants people to remember how they have felt the last 17 days, how angry they were about the murder of Robert Steedham and of those 6 Americans in El Salvador. And he hopes to galvanize both this country and the world for the very hard measures that may be needed to fight terrorism, whether that means preemptive strikes, whether that means the possible loss of innocent lives inadvertently, whether that means the loss of American lives in striking back. It's going to be a long, hard war, and the president means to wage it and hopes to build on the unfortunate incidents of the last 17 days.
All right, Chris. Now let's check in with Marvin Calvert, the State Department. Marvin, has the U.S. bargaining position diplomatically been damaged by what we had to do to get our people back?
Roger, we don't know enough at this particular point to answer that question. I do not know at any rate. I certainly await what the Secretary of State is going to say shortly. But the president said no rewards, no guarantees, no deals, no concessions. That being the case, how did the United States get the people back? The Syrians say outright that there were undertakings by the United States. They say indirectly that there were undertakings by Israel. What were those undertakings? We're going to have to find out. The president said he wanted to take action against nations that sponsored terrorists. Syria, according to the State Department, is one of the 5 nations that sponsor terrorism. What kind of action can you take against a nation that in 3 or 4 sentences later he praises as having been extremely constructive in trying to get the hostages out? We don't know very much at this point. The official explanations are now going to roll out, and it'll be very interesting to see how the official story aligns itself with the rhetoric and the action of the past 2 weeks.
Following up on that, Marvin, you probably heard, as I did, a foreign ministry official in Syria say the other day, now that we've helped arrange this release, the Reagan administration ought not to accuse us of being a center for terrorism anymore. Well, this wraps up our report. The president's remarks after the hostages have headed from Damascus into West Germany. We will keep up with the story as they develop. We'll have a full report on the NBC Nightly News tonight. I'm Roger Mudd, NBC News, New York.
We are back at the U.S. Grand Prix in the Meadowlands. The engines are still now. Al Unser Jr. running smoothly to the finish of this race, unchallenged. Is 36 seconds ahead of the second-place car of Emerson Fittipaldi at the finish. And there he is as he pulls up into winner's circle here at the Meadowlands. His second victory, he's $88,694 richer. Terrific payday for little Al. Unbuckles, ready to climb out of the cockpit.
See the smile in his eyes, can't you, Paul?
This is a maneuver that little redhead really enjoys. He's going to play it for all it's worth.
Yeah, he doesn't even look like he's too tired now. That's pretty good. This is a very tiring racetrack. In case the people don't know it, you just never quit turning on this track.
All right, let's go to winner's circle, Gary Gerald.
All right, Paul, down here we are. The helmet has just come off. He wiped some perspiration off the chin and the forehead. It was just a year and a couple of weeks ago, Father's Day in Portland, when you got #1. Welcome to the Big Apple, young man, #2 today. And there's the grin. Thank you, Gary. Feeling, Al.
Thank you, Gary. I just, you know, Mario and Danny, they ran into a little bad luck, and that's pretty much all we needed. And, you know, we just, I want to thank Domino's Pizza and Coca-Cola and Mobil and just everybody, you know, they're just doing a super job.
We've got to ask you about right down here. You lost the duct leading into the brake on the left front. Here's Shelley over here on the side. We'll interrupt this interview for just a second because you can imagine the emotion that takes place between this young couple. 23 years of age, former Can-Am Super V champion in victory lane for the second time in his career. You lost this brake duct down in here. How did that come about?
I don't know. We didn't hit anything, and you know, I never even saw it flapping, and then I just saw the crew guys pick it up, and that was it, you know.
Well, I know that your father, I believe, ends up in third place. You've got a very proud uncle up in the booth. This is quite a day for the Unsers.
Yeah, it is. We're happy to be here, and you know, I love New York now. There's no better place.
Well, congratulations again, Al. Congratulations to the entire Doug Shearson team. That's the story in victory lane, Paul.
Thank you, Gary. Gerald, congratulations, little Al. Margin of victory, 36 seconds. He won it going away. The race run at 90 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour faster. That's, considering they go 170 down the main stretch, that figure of 90 miles an hour, not that impressive. So here we are, unofficial results. Once again, little Al wins. Emerson Fittipaldi, his second of the year. Al Unser Sr. up a good ride, replacing Rick Mears on these, the road courses. A great ride for Michael Andretti, and Bruno Giacomelli with another good ride for the Patrick team. So there are 5 very happy names here at the Meadowlands.
I think all in all, it was a darn good race from the start to the finish, and I'm sorry for the people that dropped out.
All right, the unofficial results. The race is now complete at the Meadowlands. A good afternoon. Of course, 10 miles an hour faster, so he drove one whale of a race in the early going. Mario Andretti jumped out to the lead as expected, but then contact between Andretti and Bobby Rahal took both of those cars out of the race. Al was right there where he needed to be. Jumped into the lead and then drove just as hard as he could, finishing as the winner here in the second race at the Meadowlands. So the Indy cars have come back to the New York area, and they put on a whale of a show for the crowd here this afternoon. A magnificent battle. Next on to Cleveland, and of course, coming up later this summer, the Michigan 500 here on NBC. This is Paul Page for Bobby Unser, Bruce Jenner, and Gary Gerald. So long.
A promotional fee has been paid to NBC by United Airlines. You're not just flying. You're flying the friendly skies.
A promotional fee. Len Berman back in our New York studios. We have some baseball scores and highlights to give you, and we'll send you back out at the Meadowlands to wrap up this afternoon's race. First of all, for New York sports fans, another bad afternoon. The Mets and Yankees both lost. The Cardinals in the bottom of the 11th inning at Busch Stadium. Big crowd on hand, 47,000, and they saw Jack Clark hit this bottom of the 7th home run off of Dwight Gooden. That broke a scoreless tie in the 7th. Mets got it back in the 8th. Wally Backman. Pretty bunt down the left side. Terry Pendleton threw it away. Backman just kept on cruising. The ball down in the right field bullpen. Backman made it all the way to third and finally tied the game on a Danny Heap sacrifice fly. The bottom of the 11th inning, another bullpen failing. Orozco couldn't hold it. Vince Coleman, the exciting rookie with the base hit to Jesus, came around and scored it. An excited Cardinal team as they've opened up a game-and-a-half lead. They've won 4 in a row. The Mets have now dropped 5 straight. The Mets are in 4th place, 5 games out. Elsewhere, Phillies got 2 in the 9th to beat the Expos, final of 3-2 at Olympic Stadium. 31,000 in Pittsburgh. They had a big drive, the newspapers and radios there did, to try to get fans to support the ailing Pirates. They did get 31,000 at the ballpark, but the Cubs beat the Pirates 9-2. Houston handed the Giants their 10th straight loss. Final score at Candlestick, 6-2 Astros. The Dodgers don't know where pitcher Steve Howe is. He did not show up for today's game against the Braves. Earlier this month, he showed up late for a game, claimed his wife had his car keys, and he had to take a long cab ride to get to the ballpark. Howe is the fellow in the past who has had drug problems. There's no word on why he's a no-show. The Dodgers are looking for him this afternoon. In the American League, the first-place Blue Jays now lead by 3.5 games. They beat the Tigers at Tiger Stadium, final of 6-5 with a run in the 8th. 44,000 at Tiger Stadium. Big crowds all around the majors today. Top of the first inning, Ernie Witt for the Blue Jays. 3-run homer off of Jack Morris, and that gave the Blue Jays a 4-0 lead. But Tigers came back, bottom of the 3rd inning. Larry Parrish hits a 2-run homer, his 11th of the year. That tied the game 5-5, but the Blue Jays got a run in the 8th to win it, 6-5 for first place Toronto this afternoon. Up at the stadium, 51,000. The Yankees lost to the Brewers again. Final score of 7-2. 7-5 in that one. Brewers 7 runs on 14 hits. Yankees 5 runs on 9 hits. Billy Martin having problems. Bottom of the 4th inning. Mike Pagliarulo, home run off of former Yankee Ray Burris. That tied the game at the time, 4-4. Now top of the 5th inning. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Charlie Moore off of Brian Fisher. 2-run single. Brewers took a 6-4 lead. Wound up beating the Yankees, final of 7-5. At Fenway, the Orioles shut out the Red Sox 3-0. Mike Boddicker all the way for an 8-hitter. Minnesota Twins beat Tom Seaver and the White Sox. Final there of 4-3. White Sox are struggling as well. They've lost 5 in a row. The Twins swept that series. In first place, California dropped 1 at Kansas City. Final score of 3-1. So the Royals are now 3.5 back of the first place California Angels. In golf this afternoon, a good one. Sudden death at the Memphis Golf Classic. Hal Sutton wound up the winner. It all came down to an 18th hole putt for an unknown. At the Colonial Country Club, this is David Ogren, short putt for the win, and he missed it. And here's the reaction of the day. Could have won 90 grand. Instead, sudden death. Here's Hal Sutton, first sudden death hole from the fringe, 30 feet away. He drops it in. Big money putt for Hal Sutton. Still, Ogren had a chance to tie it on that sudden death hole, but the putter disappeared again. So, Ogren takes consolation in the fact that's his highest finish ever in his short pro golf career, but the winner, Hal Sutton, today, winning the Memphis Golf Classic and taking home $90,000 along the way. So, this is Len Berman in New York for Sports World, and we will be sending you back to the Meadowlands now. Let's go to Paul Page and company at the U.S. Grand Prix.
As the sun begins to slide in the west over Giants Stadium in the Meadowlands, the roar of the racing engine is now stilled here. And Al Unser Jr. has written his name in the record books. His second victory, $88,000 richer. He won going away, 36.5-second lead over Emerson Fittipaldi. But a magnificent afternoon. The fans certainly enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed it here as we continue our coverage now for the New York area. Let's take a look once again at the unofficial results here at the Meadowlands. Half an hour yet to go. The winner, of course, Al Unser Jr. 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 53/100 seconds. 36.5 seconds his victory. We had 7 lead changes. A terrific race. 17 cars running at the finish, 11 cars out. And Lola makes her mark once again. The winning mark of the car is a Lola. They won with a Lola. Mario Andretti did at Long Beach. Then Danny Sullivan won at Indianapolis. That was a March. And then Lola won at Milwaukee and again at Portland. So right now, it is Lola wins so far. Lola is the lady of the year. And there he is. Look how proud he is alongside his father. There is the other Lola, the one that so many people banked on here, Mario Andretti, and finally he banked it against the wall. It ended his day. Mario Andretti still leads in the points. He had a terrific cushion on the points coming into this race, and there's father and son. And look at the smiles. I don't think Al minds giving this away. Let's go to Gary Gerald on that truck.
Well, the victory lap has been completed. Here's the hard-working driver who finishes second, Emerson Fittipaldi. Emo, I understand you had a steering problem that made it a very long afternoon for you.
Yeah, the steering wheel column bracket broke from the dashboard, and the steering wheel column was free, and I had to hold the steering wheel all the time, press against the dashboard and down. I destroyed my back trying to hold the steering wheel, but otherwise the car was beautiful handling and very good. It was a shame I slowed down a little bit.
Second at Long Beach, second now at the Meadowlands. You keep getting closer and closer to that first Indy Car win.
I'm very pleased with the performance. You know, all did a very good job, and he deserved to win. I hope my day will come to win.
Indeed it will. Thank you, Emerson. Emerson Fittipaldi headed now for the victory stand, along with Al Unser Jr., Al Unser Sr. It's been quite a day for the Unsers, Paul.
And there goes the beautiful Theresa as she comes down off the stand as well. Emerson Fittipaldi's wife. There's the mark of a champion, though. Emerson Fittipaldi, lesser man with the steering wheel vibrating in his hands and loose, would have given up. Still unofficial. Of course, it will take a half an hour before we wait out the protest period. There should not be any. Penske apparently relinquishing on that one as we look at the top 10. So the race over now, and some brave moments, especially that with Emerson Fittipaldi continuing to hang on. We'll come back to the Meadowlands right after these messages. The race is over. The day is over. It has been a magnificent afternoon, and it is Al Unser Jr. that is our winner. Now let's go back to lap 35, turn 5. The #1 car is Mario Andretti. He was leading at the time. He slams the brakes. He's then hit in the rear by Bobby Rahal. Then he slides forward into Jeff Brabham. That was the changing point of this race.
Well, it changed a lot of things, Paul, and the whole race came out different. From then on, we couldn't predict very much, really.
Many of the young men of CART, the young Titans, have been doing a magnificent job. Look at this as they take a look at Mario Andretti's car, see how much damage is there and how much work that they have to do before next weekend. Now, let's go back to the pit area, the main straightaway area. Here's Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, right up behind us, Al Unser Jr. being accorded all the accolades that come with victory at the Meadowlands. A couple of very important members of the team alongside. Here's wife Shelley Unser. There's got to be a tremendous amount of emotion that runs through your being this day.
Oh, I'm just so happy. I can't believe it. I was just glad that we finally won one with Doug. Doug's our new car owner this year, and I was just glad that Al could win one for him. And Domino's Pizza and Coca-Cola and Mobil and everybody else involved.
You've been trained well.
Yeah, and I want to say hi to Al at home because he's watching. He's 2.5 years old. Hi, Al, from Mommy.
All right. Shelley, the littlest Al of the Unser clan at home, and Doug Shearson. There's always an abundance of smiles in Victory Lane, but this one has to take on some special significance. You were close 2 weeks ago in Portland. Here you are at the top of the winner's stand now in the New York, New Jersey area.
Well, it's nice to put the Domino's Pizza Hot One in the victory circle, and particularly for our co-sponsors, Coca-Cola, and particularly Mobil Oil, who have a large contingent here. We were close last week, and we really thought we could win it, and we honestly thought we could win today. And it was nice. The car ran like a clock. Al drove beautifully. And everybody's going to be happy.
Well, congratulations to you, Ian Reed, all of the hardworking members of this crew. Paul, it's a happy group, of course, down here at Victory Lane.
And they deserve to be, Gary. Doug Shearson, the car owner, he and I did a little sports car racing of our own. Pretty competent driver in his day. Now, there's plenty of opportunities this summer to see the Indy cars of CART as they travel across the country. The remaining schedule, of course, in a week they go to Cleveland. And then on the 21st of July, here live on NBC, we once again return to Michigan, the Irish Hills, for the Michigan 500. Then to the road courses, then back to Pocono for the 500, then Mid-Ohio on through the end of the season, where they finally will end in November on the new circuit at Tamiami Park in Miami. You'll see that live on NBC as well. Great schedule this year. Great race here at the Meadowlands. That should perk interest across